Do you ever sit and wonder sometimes, like, you know how we look at quarterbacks and wide receivers that are drafted into the NFL together, and one guy might turn into a star and the other guy doesn't do anything?
Mike Evans and Johnny Manziel.
That's like the pinnacle example. In 3 years, are we going to be like, why didn't people care that Trey Harris was doing all of these things for Jackson Dart?
Maybe, man. Maybe.
Well, what's the Antonio Brown one? Who was his college quarterback?
Wasn't he at Central Michigan? So I don't know if there would have been a...
I'm pretty sure he was drafted after his college quarterback.
No way, really? Who is his college quarterback?
Dan Lefevre, who was drafted in the 6th round.
Oh, wow. Where was Antonio Brown drafted?
Wasn't he drafted in the 6th round?
6th round. What pick number?
Oh, my God.
What pick number was Dan?
Pick 181.
Wow. Antonio Brown was 195.
Oh, my God.
Welcome to the opening bell of the NFL Stock Exchange podcast. I'm Trevor Sikkema, that's Connor Rogers, here with you guys for a very, very exciting episode. Connor, this is probably the second most anticipated episode that we have every single year. It's the draft grades episode right after the NFL draft is over. And then it's the multi-round post-combine mock draft. And we're here, buddy. We're about to get it underway. How you feeling today?
I was good until you reminded me of that. I was going to this like, oh, another show, another mock draft. And now you're like, hey, buddy, no pressure.
You better be on it.
Only the second biggest show we do of the year. Don't fuck this up for everyone else. Oh, man, what a start. I was calm, cool, and collected. This is really the first, big piece of work I've done since I got home for the combine. Now I'm sweating. I'm like, oh, God, I'm going to get picked for the Packers twice. Great. Just great. No, this is going to be awesome, man. I can't wait. It's just everything. This is like a fresh coat of paint for a mock draft. You just come away with so much info for the combine, and obviously you and I want to do it big and go through 2 rounds instead of 1.
You were sleeping soundly, you were having a good time. You were taking a nap on the couch, cold water, straight in the face. Now mock draft for these teams. That's exactly.
Somebody just dragging me by the ankles all the way through the floor.
Yeah, it's me.
Get ready. Yeah, it is you. It's your fault. We don't even know who's picking first. Great.
Connor was in Indianapolis. I was in Indianapolis. We were there for most of the week for the combine, and we learned a lot, not just for how these players tested athletically, but certainly the combine podium sessions as well. Connor got the chance to talk to these guys on the side for NBC. Getting to know them a little bit more. And it's so much more than that. You get to talk to all sorts of people who cover these teams. Right. You get to talk to people who work for the teams themselves. And this mock draft here is going to be a multi-round what we think will happen mock draft, because that's the time of the year we're at. Of course, we give you our rankings and we tell you what we think of these players. But here we are doing this mock draft to tell you what we think will happen at the end of April. So, Connor.
No pressure.
Odds or evens? I don't know what is more pressure, because if you pick for the odds, you pick for the Titans at the top, and we're probably going to have a decently lengthy conversation about that. But then at number 2, you got to pick for the Browns too. So
yeah, there's no easy way out. Both Packers picks are odd numbers, by the way. Just throw that out there. I'll actually take the odds.
Wow. Yeah. Look at this guy.
Yeah.
Cold water on his face, and he's ready for battle. He draws his sword.
I need to step up to the plate. After like that soft opening from me of just complaining, I got to carry my weight on this show. I'll take the odds.
All right, so let's bring up the beautiful PFF mock draft simulator. Here it is in all its glory. All right, so you guys can do mock drafts over at pff.com as well. Go to pff.com/mock. If you have a full subscription, you can do multi-rounds just like we are doing here on this show. You can select one team. You can select a couple of teams if you're new to this. You select all the teams. And that's obviously what we're going to do here. We're going to do 2 rounds. It's this multi-round mock draft because what we want to do is we want to start to build draft strategies. We've done a lot of first-round mock drafts here on this show and here on this channel. But now that we sort of know a lot more about what teams could potentially be thinking with these prospects, we're going to build out some draft strategies, and obviously we will have some more of these exercises once free agency gets underway. But we're going to do a 2-rounder here today. Connor, you said you wanted the odds, which means you are up for the Tennessee Titans. Talk to us a little bit about what you might have heard about the Tennessee Titans and then who you'd be picking here.
Well, I mean, what we keep hearing is that they're looking, or at least considering, trading this pick, which my thought process here, Trevor, is if you, and maybe they don't know yet, let's be clear here, they have private visits coming up with both quarterbacks in the short term, in the near future. But if you loved one of the quarterbacks right now, and once again, like a lot can change, coaches get involved in this late. If you loved one of the quarterbacks right now, would you be that open to moving the pick when you need a quarterback? I don't think so. I don't think so. So at the end of the day, I think there's a really good chance this pick is moved, but we're not doing that today. So if they're open to moving the pick, it means they might like other players better. They don't feel the urgency to take a quarterback, and maybe free agency will really give us the breadcrumbs there. I'll go with Abdul Carter, who is in an interesting situation with the stress fracture in the foot, but I think teams just love him as the top player in this draft. I know you and I both have Travis Hunter as the top player in this draft, but I think for Tennessee here, they think this is a game-changing pass rusher, and I would imagine their strategy right now, trying to read the tea leaves, is how can we get draft capital and get Abdul Carter? Would probably be what they're thinking.
Right.
And they want to see if they could figure that out. And, would we be shocked if the day comes and they take Cam Ward? No. But in this state right now, I'd go with Abdul Carter.
I would too. And the reason why is because, if you're putting together some clues here, their VP of football ops earlier this offseason, Chad Brinker, said, we won't pass on a generational talent. Like, if we think there's generational talent in this draft, we're not going to pass on him at number one. Just because, I believe he was saying, like, just because we might need a quarterback.
Right.
Then Mike Borgonzi, their new general manager, was sort of asked, like, hey, do you think there's generational players in this draft class? And he said, yeah, I think there are a couple. I can't remember the word he used, like a couple, a few, whatever. But he said yes, essentially. I don't think one of those is a quarterback. I think he's talking about two players in particular. He's talking about Abdul Carter and he's talking about Travis Hunter.
Makes sense.
I think that you are right. Your scenario is correct. They'd love to have their cake and eat it too. Mm-hmm. And I don't know about you, the loudest rumblings that I heard of teams maybe trying to trade up to number one is the New York Giants.
Always.
To move up to number one. And that would make sense because if that's the case, the Titans could comfortably move back to 3, get some extra draft capital, know that the Giants are moving up for a quarterback, and then be guaranteed to get one of Travis Hunter or Abdul Carter. So that's, I think, what Tennessee is trying to manifest into reality right now. We'll see if it ends up happening, but I agree with you. I think Abdul Carter is probably the player that they're going after the most, especially with them giving Harold Landry the ability to look elsewhere for a trade. So I like this. This is also where I would start. Anything else on this one before we move on to Cleveland?
No, let's go to 2 with the Browns because now they're in an interesting spot with both quarterbacks here.
So I'm with you that I don't know how much the NFL really does love these quarterbacks at the top. But if I'm going to be honest with you, basically everything that I heard while I was in Indianapolis is that this is a one quarterback race. That it's Cam Ward at the very top, and that's about it. From how people, and this is, other media members, some people who cover teams, all of that, it feels as though the gap between Cam Ward and Shedeur Sanders is bigger than the gap between Shedeur Sanders and whoever QB3 is going to be.
Which is Dart, I think, for the league.
That I think Dart, and then I've heard there's some fans for Milroe out there as well.
Yes.
Not in round 1 or like top 10, but I do think that some teams really like the ceiling of Jalen Milroe. But with that being the case, and then when you throw in the fact that Adam Schefter said last week, if there's anything I'm the most sure on, it's that the Browns are going to draft a quarterback at number 2. If Cam Ward is here, I believe that happens. If Cam Ward's not here, I think they either trade back or they draft Travis Hunter.
I would agree on the Hunter front.
I don't think Shedeur Sanders is in the conversation here for the Cleveland Browns. And to be honest with you, I don't know if he's in the conversation for the Giants then even at number 3, even in a scenario where they really need one. So I'm going to take Cam Ward here and just reiterate that I believe it's sort of a one quarterback race. And for a long time, I think that we talked about these 2 quarterbacks going in the top 10. I am less convinced of that now more than ever, that we get 2 quarterbacks, not just in the top 10, but in the first round. So we'll see how this draft plays out to see if you think a little bit different. But I'll go Cam Ward, number 2 to the Cleveland Browns.
Right. So now the scenario is that the Giants are at 3. Cam Ward's gone. I didn't hear that they don't like Shedeur Sanders. Like I did talk to some people.
I agree.
That would know, and I actually like they were like, hey, it's not that they don't dislike Shedeur. I think there are things about his game, obviously his accuracy, that they really like. I think, Trevor, it comes down to they would move up to number 1 or number 2 for Cam Ward. I don't know if they would do that for Shedeur Sanders. And I think they're aware that there's a world where, in like this scenario, Cam Ward goes in front of them. And that's why you've heard some of the Rodgers noise now. So it was funny.
I mean, they were in on Matt. I mean, can I just say this? The Giants are in a horrible spot.
Well, you never want to be the desperate man at the bar, right?
They're in a terrible spot.
Yeah.
Because you bring back your head coach and your general manager, and you do so basically telling them that their seat is hot already. The second you're basically like, hey, your job is safe, but you're very close to being fired.
Right, yes. And that's how Mara spoke.
And if it's basically what Mara was saying, in paraphrasing, is basically like 2025 better be a hell of a lot better than 2024 was. They have no quarterback. They have no quarterback right now.
Not many avenues to give you a surefire answer, right? I know the 3rd overall pick can be one, but not for sure.
But now, is there a world where it could work out for the Giants?
Sure.
Yes. That's why I think they were in on the conversation for Matthew Stafford, and that's why I think they are in on as the team to most likely to move up to number 1 if there's going to be a trade. So all of that can be said. I think that there is a way where this works out. But if they don't get Cam Ward, and if they don't either sign Sam Darnold or trade for Geno Smith, like I at that point, I don't know why you brought Joe Shane and Brian Daboll back, because it's ridiculous to think that it would get so much better in 2025 where these guys are going to save their jobs. So I just think it's bad business practice what the New York Giants are doing right now. So
it's not an ideal situation. What I'll say is I'm pretty confident they are going to get a veteran in that building before the draft.
I agree.
Because they are fearful of this situation where they might go through these next 2 months and be like, you know what, we really like Shedeur. We're going to take him at 3, which might be a surprise to people. And he's going to sit behind name your veteran. But more likely, if they can get that veteran, you bring up Darnold and Geno, and then they can go into the draft and say, hey, we're going to draft somebody that we like the upside of in the 2nd or 3rd round instead, and use our 3rd overall pick on a premium player because our roster's bad right now. And to walk people through this, they had this idea last year, right? They had the idea last year around this time. I had talked to a lot of people about this, that they felt like with their top 10 pick, we're not going to be in position probably to get Drake May, even though we'd love to have him. And obviously Caleb and Jaden Daniels are gone.
I heard they made a pretty compelling offer to get the 3.
They wanted Drake May. It wasn't going to happen. So they knew, okay, we're going to take a premium player in the top 10, like Malik Neighbors. And then, mind you, this time last year, a lot changes with the draft. They thought they can come back into round 1 for a Michael Penix kind of quarterback at the time. We see how things changed, Trevor. Penix, McCarthy, and Bo Nix all went in the top 12 when a lot of teams thought one of the 3 could make it to the back end of round 1. So then the Giants were like, okay, we're going to roll, we're going to try to improve the roster and roll with Daniel Jones and figure it out. And now you don't have that luxury, as you highlighted. So day 1 of the combine, I'm there, and everybody's like, they're going, like, I know a lot of New York people, obviously. They're going for Stafford. Like, this is an aggressive play for Stafford. And then day 2, the same people were like, yeah, the Giants want him. We don't think he wants the Giants. And I was like, when you frame it like that, he's got a lot going for him where he is. The Giants roster right now, maybe it looks a lot different in 2 months and a lot better, but at the moment, it's a big risk. And now the conversation has pivoted to, like you said, a different bucket of quarterbacks. So I'm not going to take a quarterback here because I'm going with the idea they are going to get somebody in free agency or via trade, and they'd like to be a little bit more flexible and go into the draft and get a day 2 guy like they kind of thought they were going to do last year. Now, the question is, obviously which player. Well, Carter's gone. Hunter's a clear winner here. They need a corner and a receiver. Hell, so this is an easy one when you kind of, and I know this was a long process to get this pick done, but there's so much going on with the New York Giants that I think it needed to be explained. This mock draft will be posted and people will see Travis Hunter at 3 with Shedeur Sanders on the board and their minds will explode. But I think the actual explanation on the podcast makes a lot more sense.
Look, I'm right there with you. Solidarity. I'd come to the same exact conclusion. I don't think if they're not getting Cam Ward, I don't think they can hitch their wagon to Shedeur Sanders thinking that he is going to play well enough to save them their jobs in 2025. And
behind a line that needs work still.
Right, 100%. And look, I like Shedeur.
Right.
I just have always, and we've kind of said this a little bit on this podcast, like whenever we've done a lot of predictive stuff, it just has felt as though until we get to free agency and we really get to sort these things out, there are so many teams that are desperate for quarterbacks. So that's why in mocks before this, we'd have Shedeur going to the Giants at number 3. But I wondered if I was going to get to Indianapolis and if it was going to be a lot of conversations about, hey, some teams, some people have Shedeur QB1, some people have Cam Ward. It was all but unanimous. Cam Ward is QB1 in this class, so much so that I wonder if Shedeur is not really being considered as an ideal option. An option for some of these teams picking in the top 10, but not the one that they would go with. And it almost feels as though these teams would at least rather have somebody on the veteran market that they're bringing in before they are drafting a guy like Shedeur Sanders. So you're going Travis Hunter here at number 3?
Yep.
Okay, all right. So would I, honestly. The New England Patriots are up at number 4. Worst offensive line in the NFL last year, most sacks allowed, most pressures allowed, has to get a lot better, but this is also the team that has the most cap space to work with this year. I honestly think that the Patriots, it's not that they couldn't go offensive line here, and if they're going to go somebody, I think that they would go Armand Bamboo, but I believe they're going to bring in a lot of new talent on the offensive line in the form of free agency. I bet they bring in 2, 3, maybe even 4 offensive linemen that some are going to be seen as right away starters. Other guys are going to be seen as the necessary depth and culture fit kind of players for Mike Vrabel. Connor, I'm more tempted to go Tetairoa McMillan here with the way that Mike Vrabel talked about wanting an outside X type of a wide receiver, a guy who is compared to, Mike Evans or Drake London. I know some people are like, Tetairoa McMillan, he's scared to compete. He didn't run a 40. He said he's not going to run a 40 at Pro Day. Hey, Drake London didn't either. We never saw Drake London run a 40. He still went number 8 overall. He still turned out pretty all right. So I'm actually going to go with Tetairoa McMillan here at number 4 instead of an offensive lineman. What do you think about it?
I don't think you're crazy at all. I mean, listen, we sit here and record this show. T. Higgins got franchise tagged today. The wide receiver market is not good, folks. Honestly, the free agent market, if you're looking to go buy a team, is never good. And New England is looking to go buy an offense.
Right.
I mean, they need upside. They need big-time players on the line, big-time players at wide receiver. There will be some players out there, but like Trey Smith got tagged. T. Higgins got tagged. Yeah, you got to pick your spots. New England, if they could sign some mid-level starters on the line, draft Ted at 4, and then keep adding to their trenches at on day 2, I wouldn't be surprised if that's the route they go.
So you're up with the Jags at 5.
Jags at 5. Interesting spot because the player that's been the most popular pick for them has been Mason Graham.
Mm-hmm.
Despite people kind of overreacting to his combine, which is interesting considering that I understand, like I expected him to be over 300 pounds. He's
just smaller and shorter.
Right.
Than we thought.
Right. And he probably went in at that weight to to do as much as he can. Or, obviously not necessarily now, but guys can get down to weight because they could be getting ready for pro day to do everything. I still think Mason Graham's going to go really early in this draft. Like I don't think teams are reacting to this the way that the general public does. Yeah, I don't. I mean, I've watched Mason Graham put up phenomenal tape against good competition, and I've seen him do it, on a stage to win a national title. I've seen him do it against Ohio State. I don't know. This isn't one to me where I need to recalibrate all my thoughts. Never thought Mason Graham would be a top 3 pick in, since we've been doing these mock drafts, but he's just such a good fit for Jacksonville at 5 and a really good player. And obviously Hunter and Carter are off the board. So I'm going to stick with Graham here, even though I know that won't be popular opinion anymore.
Look, I think Mason Graham's a hell of a player. I wonder if the NFL is going to draft an interior defensive lineman with short arms who's sub 300, who I'm very interested to hear how he tests when he's at Michigan, because I think there are moments when he's explosive, and if he's able to stand out the way that Braden Fisk was, looking at how good of a rookie season Braden Fisk had, does that sort of give him a bump? Now, even if you want to say yes, Braden Fisk still went in the second round. Does the bump take Mason Graham all the way up to number 5? I don't know. I still feel as though this is where his range starts. I think you start having the conversation with him at number 5. But I genuinely think that his floor could be 12. Like, I think the range is just opened up a little bit more for him to potentially go to the Cowboys at 12, right? I think that that's the floor for him. I think that San Francisco at 11 would also be all over him. So I would have a hard time believing that even with maybe less than ideal measurables, he would get past 11 or 12. But to me, with the measurables and everything, I think the range has opened up a little bit more for Mason Graham, but the tape is the tape. And we're going to say that a lot here on this show and as we go throughout the process. Like, the measurements, we'll have the Will Campbell conversation soon, I would imagine. Like, how guys test, just the measurements and the official measurements that we get on these guys, which I now have to put in air quotes official, because the Senior Bowl measurements and the Shrine Bowl measurements weren't even the same as the Combine measurements that we saw. So
right.
What's going on? I need one. Give me one guy who's employed by the NFL, who goes to the Shrine Bowl, who goes to the Senior Bowl, who goes to the Combine. That's what I want.
You're right. He walks around with a briefcase, and it's just got tape measure in it.
Dude, he's like a tailor.
Yeah, literally.
He just finely dressed Italian suits, just a tape measure right over his neck at all times.
He doesn't speak, like, just so nobody challenges the measurements. He doesn't even tell you what you measured in at. He just writes it in a little notebook, a little leather notebook. And he leaves. He doesn't even say goodbye or thank you.
The only words in English that he knows are "enjoy your stay, Mr. Wick." Those are the only words in English that he knows. And other than that, he is just there to give you official NFL measurements.
One more thing on Mason Graham, because I see so much of the Fisk conversation. Braden Fisk was 24. Mason Graham's 21. I mean, that's a big difference we're talking here, 3 years. 3-year difference. So I would just I never saw Braden Fisk hold the point of attack against double teams the way Mason Graham does in the big. So I don't know. I just think it's a dangerous conversation is what I like to say.
I hear you. I hear you calling it the big.
I
hear you. I hear you.
Yeah,
you calling it the big.
Yeah.
Big branded guy. All right, so the Raiders are up at number 6.
I am fascinated to see what you do here.
Talk me out of Ashton Genty.
Well, they don't have a quarterback.
Okay, but like I said, I don't.
I'm not going to do that because I think he's the 3rd best player in the draft. But it's interesting. Like, we hear how Shedeur texts with Tom Brady, and they were another team in on Stafford. The Raiders are so interesting to me, man. Like, who's going to be the quarterback of this team?
The Raiders could take Shedeur at 6, and
I wouldn't be shocked.
And I think a lot of people would go like, "Yeah, of course." They've been, he's been linked to Tom Brady the whole time. Deion and Tom are real good friends.
Mark Davis, he knows him.
And here's the thing that we talk about all the time: it only takes one. Right, we say that phrase on this channel.
Yeah,
all
it does
the
not
time.
take 2 to tango. We've often reminded people of this.
It's
You
just
can tango
one
alone.
Team. So, if there are 31 other NFL teams that have a 3rd round grade on Shedeur Sanders, I'm making this up, by the way. Let's say there are 31 teams that have a 3rd round grade on Shedeur Sanders, and the Raiders have a top 10 grade on him. Raiders are probably going to take him at 6. And history would look back and say, well, see, the league said that Shedeur Sanders was a top 10 overall pick. Well, no, the league didn't.
Right.
We don't know that for sure.
Good point.
Maybe they did, but just the Raiders did. So that's why this specific pick in this conversation is so interesting to me, and it's so dependent on what happens in free agency. Because at this point, I don't think the league as a whole views Sanders as a top 10 overall pick. I don't. And with the Raiders having a new head coach in Pete Carroll and a new general manager in John Spytek, whenever that is the case, I feel as though those regimes that are just starting operate much more long-term view. So I could instead see the Raiders bringing in a Justin Fields or one of these other free agents, maybe a Jameis Winston. I don't think Russell Wilson, because of how things ended with Pete Carroll's time in Seattle and Russell's time in Seattle. Maybe it could be water under the bridge, but
be surprising.
I think it's much more likely that once again, they go a veteran quarterback market. And until we get past free agency and they do not have a legit option at quarterback, I don't think they're going to force one at number 6. So with that being the case, this to me comes down to Ashton Genty, Jahdae Barron, and Will Johnson. That's what I think it comes down to. And I feel as though they would go Ashton Genty at 6. I think that
I wouldn't be shocked.
A lot of teams in the league view him as a true offensive changing piece. I think a lot of people look at him and think, hey, we can have the same sort of impact that Saquon Barkley had with the Philadelphia Eagles. Now, I understand where you guys are going to yell at me and you're going to say, whoa, hold on. Philly had the best offensive line in the NFL. I understand that. But again, I feel as though if the NFL believes Ashton Genty's a special player, and I have yet to hear anything against that, you draft him at 6 with a pretty good offensive line already forming with the Raiders, and then you just continue to add on to that in the next couple of years. You hope that you obviously get the quarterback that has the playoff and Super Bowl ceiling after that. So I'm sticking with it, man. Until free agency proves me otherwise, I'm taking Ashton Genty at number 6.
I don't think anybody can call that crazy. I mean, one of the special players in the draft, they will. That's true.
They will. And I look forward to it. I look forward to reading the comments. Let's hear it, folks. What you think about Ashton Genty?
7, the Jets. This is obviously a very popular Tyler Warren spot for good reason, by the way. I think for good reason. Warren is another one of the guys that I think is one of the best players in this draft. He is very calm, cool, and collected. I had him at Big Ten Media in July, and then I had him at the Combine this year, and he's always the same level, which makes it that amazing how much he flips a switch on the field into an absolute killer. One quote I really did like from him is when I asked him about, blocking in their multiple run schemes, which is how much he was talking about how much they run outside zone, and he's like, being the front side tight end in our outside zone, he's like, we call it getting the engine started. And I just thought that was so hardcore. Really, really good line for he lights up differently when talking about blocking, which is just funny to me because this guy threw a touchdown, ran for 4 touchdowns, caught many touchdowns, and it's like, nah, I'd rather just throw you into the stands and let someone else score.
He wants to block.
So he'll be a popular pick here, but I'm gonna throw a little bit of a wrinkle, Trevor, and go not so fast. I'm gonna go Armand Membu.
Yeah, dude, I'm with you.
Yeah, I'm
with you.
It's another tailor-made slot. The Jets' offensive line from left tackle to right guard is actually pretty damn good right now when you write it down on paper. Olu Fashanu, obviously John Simpson was a nice signing for them coming over from Baltimore. Joe Tippmann had a really nice second year. And then Elijah Vera-Tucker was finally healthy at guard. But there's just this giant glaring hole at right tackle because Morgan Moses is probably going to get to free agency. Armand Membu's tape at right tackle this year is as good as any offensive lineman in this draft, and then he goes and tests like an absolute alien. I mean, really tested like an alien at his size. That his lion roar while running the 40 and flying down the track was...
Is that what we're calling it?
It really was just an absolute...
Is that what we're calling it?
An absolute roar.
It was like he was in a tennis match, dude. In tennis when they just hit it, it's like, oh,
Yeah.
So it was him. Every step he took,
every step. You felt like the track was going to cave in when he was running. It's like, oh, man. That doesn't look fun if you're if you're a linebacker.
He ran a 4.91 at 3:31.
Oh, he is
really impressive. And did you see he put up 31 reps in the bench?
Yes. Like that was just like on the way out.
With that
Like
arm
I
length,
gotta
that-
catch a flight, but here's 31 reps at 225.
Yeah, here's 31 cold ones for you. Don't
Yep.
worry, I'll rack it myself.
Yeah. Do not touch the bar, sir. He's unreal. He was my top tackle in our tackle
good
rankings.
Good call.
And I thought he would test well for his size, but I didn't see that level coming. We're in the world where Jets at 7 doesn't feel wild for M'Bu. It actually, there might be a world where he could even go higher than this.
Yep. I agree. I think that his range starts at 4 for the Patriots. In my latest mock draft over at PFF.com, I thought about him for the Jags at 5, just wanting to get as many good offensive linemen as possible there. You can play him at guard, and then long term, you got a tackle for you if the 2 guards that you have there in Anton Harrison and Walker Little don't work out for you. But I also think the Jets, I mean, it's absolutely realistic that he could be the first offensive tackle off the board and go to the New York Jets there at 7.
How about the rare listed 6'3" on the school site and you show up 6'4"? I just want to give some love to that for Armand M'Bu, who's also 20 years old, by the way.
Kelvin Banks for the same way.
Yeah.
Texas lists him at 6'4". He's 6'5". What are we doing here?
There is a chance these guys have grown because we forget they're like 19 when those lists come in.
I did think about that.
But still,
Yeah.
like, then lie for the inch in this scenario.
What are they drinking? Hormone milk?
Oh, man, they're listening to our advice. Steroids,
Oh,
anabolic.
I was going to say steroids?
Doesn't make you grow vertically, by the way, folks. For all you youngsters out there, stay natural.
Makes you grow in life.
It's funny when you go to the combine, and
I am so curious as to what you're about to say as a segue from steroids and now going to the combine.
It's good. It's I don't see you a lot. I saw you Tuesday night. We had a lovely dinner with our friends at Underdog.
Yes.
And then like 3 days later, I finally saw you, and we went and we walked together to go get a coffee. But I'm really not with you a lot. But what the few minutes I was walking with you, you know, some really nice, you know, younger guys have stopped us along the way, like in the show or want to say hi or whatever it is. But it reminds you how young our audience can also be, and some of the outlandish nonsense I say on here. So it's good. It's a good reminder.
Yeah. So yeah, do steroids.
Exactly what I was saying to avoid on the show. Oh man.
Honestly though, I thought about this. I should have said it at the very top. This entire draft season, whether it was the Shrine Bowl, the Senior Bowl, some people at the Super Bowl as well, especially at the Combine, we met so many of you who are either just diehard addicts to the podcast, people who work on the NFL side of things, people who work on the agent side of things, the media side of things. It was so cool. Thank you for coming up and saying hello and saying that you love the show. We were blown away, honestly, about how many people came up to us and said hello. We love that stuff. We love meeting you guys. It means the world to us. Not only that you would do something like that, but just that you listen to the show and that you're fans of the show and that we built a really good community here, and it's a really cool reminder. So shout out to everybody. And this would also be the time when Josh Norris from Underdog, shout out, would yell at me and tell me, if you're watching this show and you're not subscribed to the channel, what are you doing?
Yeah.
Josh would tell me to say that you guys are losers if you're not doing that. You're freeloaders.
He would tell me to tell you that we hate you. I don't.
His words,
not mine. I don't hate you, but if you don't subscribe, he would say, remind them that you hate the non-subscribers.
But really, we would love for you guys to subscribe and to the podcast, like the video, all that good stuff, because we try to have as best of content as we possibly can for you and make this a fun NFL draft journey all year long. So that brings up the Carolina Panthers here at number 8. D-line obviously huge for them. You know, moving on from Shaq Thompson.
End of an era.
I know. Huge end of an era. I wonder if Jahad Campbell and Jalen Walker are in play here, right? We didn't see Jalen Walker. He didn't work out this weekend, but Jahad Campbell did, and he looked great. I also loved his podium session. I mean, he just sounded super confident. Wants to be used basically in every way that the defense wants him to be used. I think Jalen Walker said the same. I wondered if Jalen Walker would sort of answer that question of, hey, have teams talked to you about playing a lot more edge rusher?
Right.
And he sort of pushed back on it a little bit. He's like, no, I want to play every position. Like, I want to play that linebacker level. I want to be able to blitz. I want to be able to cover and all that. And I wondered if the NFL was pushing him more towards the edge, and it doesn't seem like it. So when you guys are doing your Jalen Walker projections, make sure that you're not totally discarding him playing linebacker, which, full disclosure, I didn't love when he was playing as an off-ball linebacker. I liked him a lot more when he was an edge rusher. But if the NFL is going to kind of, hey, off-ball linebacker, edge rusher type of a player, and he didn't really measure in like an edge rusher, very low percentiles for arm length and overall size if he was an edge, it's just something to think about. I keep going back to Shamar Stewart here with this number 8 pick.
Ooh, yeah.
I think Mike Green is certainly in play here as well. I think he had a good combine relative to what he did. James Pierce, I like a lot. He was super explosive. I didn't feel like I got the vibe that James Pierce is regarded in that same conversation as like a Shamar Stewart, Mike Green, Jalen Walker. So that's why I wouldn't really be considering him here. They do also need secondary help, so I would throw in Jahdae Barron here as well. If I gave you the Jahdae Barron or Shamar Stewart pick here, is there one that you've heard more than the other that the NFL really loves? Because I wonder if that would make the difference here of who I think would go number 8.
Compared to, who do I think goes first between those two players?
Yeah.
I would say Shamar.
Okay.
Although, let me like totally raise my hand. I did not think Jahdae was testing like that. Jahdae is, I love what he does on tape, and I thought his problem saying why he wouldn't be a top 10 to 12 pick and more of a back half of round 1 pick is because I thought other corners would be longer and faster than him. Mm-hmm. I mean, I know he brought up Trent McDuffie. Like, he's got that McDuffie aspect, who I loved. And now, Barron, man, I could be wrong early on that one. Not as about the player, but where he goes. Teams might be correcting themselves on like, hey, maybe we should care about these guys that are going to be nickels for us, but they do so much more. So I think it's a good conversation is where I'm going. But for this isolated pick, I would say Shamar.
I would say Shamar as well. Dude who, I'm not saying that he is these players, but it's basically just like the way that he tested at 6'5", 267 pounds, running an extremely fast 40-yard dash, 40 inches in the vert. I mean, just some insane explosiveness and speed numbers there from Shamar Stewart. You're in the conversation with what Mario Williams was when he was a number 1 pick, what Jadeveon Clowney was when he was a number 1 pick, what Myles Garrett was when he was a number 1 pick. And the reason why Shamar isn't going to be the number 1 pick is because of lack of production. I understand that, but there's plenty of reason to believe that the best is yet to come for him. So I'll go Shamar Stewart at 8 for the Panthers here.
Man, he's just, I know everybody's going to throw the 1.5 sack seasons in everyone's face, but he wrecks plays on tape. He just physically has things that are so rare. It's hard to see him. I don't know if the numbers will be massive in the NFL level, but he is an NFL disruptor. And the Panthers need that.
Saints at 9 for you.
Saints at 9. Man, how fascinating is this? Where, I mean, they need a lot of different things. Obviously, they might need a new starting tight end on their roster, assuming Juwan Johnson leaves, which all signs are kind of pointing to that being the most likely outcome.
Yep.
Where Tyler Warren's in play here.
Oh, totally.
Obviously, they can keep Will Campbell in the state, the great state. Let me correct myself. The great state of Louisiana. I'm a big fan of New Orleans. It's a good town.
Elite city.
It is an elite city. I'm gonna go with Tyler Warren here.
I would as well.
Right. I mean, it helps their run game. It helps their pass game. He's a top 10 player in this draft, and it's a position of need and helps their offense. Tyler Warren makes a lot of sense if he made it here.
Yep, I agree with you. I think that, you could explore some offensive line. You shouted out Will Campbell. I think that makes a lot of sense for them. If Armand Mambu is available, maybe if they believe that like Josh Simmons is going to be good to go, which, by the way, I know we'll talk about Josh Simmons at some point in this mock draft, but he said at his combine that rehab is going great for him. So great, in fact, that he might have a personal pro day before the NFL draft, which would be huge. Which would be huge for him to even be able to get on the field. And even if like his testing numbers aren't as great as we think that they could be, if he moves well enough and that knee is good to go to do a personal pro day, that's a very good sign for him. And now we have to just remember how good he was playing before he got hurt. So I agree. I think that Tyler Warren makes sense here, though the Saints could go a lot of different directions. Chicago's on the board at number 10. Bears fans might be sick of me for this, but how do I not pick Will Campbell at this point?
Right.
I guess you could go Mike Green, maybe a Jalen Walker, but
well, you got options, but yeah.
I think Donovan Ezraku is absolutely a first-round player. I don't think he's going to go as high as 10 overall.
10 would be rich for me.
It would be the first time that we've seen him that high in a mock draft. But I mean, I ask you, like, what doesn't the dude do well? You know, he's been very productive. He gets his hands on passes when it comes to passes broken up. He's got 8 forced fumbles over the last 3 years. He had 3 cone and short shuttle times in the 90th percentile. He weighed in at 248, which you love to see. He said he could probably play comfortably around 255, which is great, because I wondered if he was going to be a little bit smaller. The jumps weren't like insanely explosive. And again, like if he was maybe a more explosive athlete, I wonder if he goes to this spot. I think he's locked himself as a first rounder. Number 10 might be a little bit rich, but I wonder if we just start to have that conversation with him somewhere in the top 20. I think Will Campbell makes a ton of sense though, man. Yeah, he's got, here's the thing about Campbell. So 32 and 3/8 inch arm length is 7th percentile for the offensive tackle position. When it comes to his total wingspan, that's just, I think, 77 and 3/8. And that is like 0th percentile
it's just him.
For offensive tackles. There is not an offensive tackle that has come through the NFL since at least 2011, which is as far as Mock Draftable had their sortable database for, that had an offensive tackle with that low of a wingspan over the last 14 years. And probably well before then, too. Now, I also very much believe Will Campbell that the tape is still the tape. His arms didn't like get shorter than what they were this year when he was LSU, and he put up some damn good tape as a left tackle. But when it comes to predicting a draft position, I think this is probably appropriate for him. And I think you're probably putting him at guard and at center. And some people out there might be shouting at me saying, why would you not let this guy start at offensive tackle first? I'm with you. I want you to know I hear you. I support you. I stand next to you in this cause. But Rashawn Slater was... What?
I don't want him to play. I don't know if tackle is a great idea.
Rashawn Slater, I think a lot of people are going to bring up Rashawn Slater. Slater had longer arms, a longer wingspan, better 40, better jumps, better agility. So he was a better athlete. Now, Will Campbell was doing his workout at about 14 heavier pounds, so I understand that. That goes into it.
Sure.
But Rashawn Slater was small, but more athletic. The fact that I had this conversation with Easton Freeze, who covers the Tennessee Titans, we were talking a lot about Peter Skoronski.
That's who I think of.
Right. But here's the thing with Peter Skoronski, because I myself was upset that the Titans never gave Peter Skoronski the chance to start at offensive tackle. But the fact of the matter is, and Easton reminded me of this, it's now been 2 different coaching staffs that have not given Peter Skoronski the chance to play offensive tackle. And they've needed an offensive tackle.
Yeah.
And they didn't even think about it. So, again, in a predictive mock, at this point in time, I am less convinced that the NFL is going to give Will Campbell a shot at offensive tackle. I think it's much more likely they give him a starting job right away at guard or potentially at center. That is perfect for the Chicago Bears, who are just trying to put the best offensive line they can around Caleb Williams. You draft Will Campbell and you let him play center or guard, and you bring in somebody else in free agency. Maybe you bring back one of those 3 guys that's a free agent for you along the interior offensive line. I think it fixes things. So I'm going Will Campbell at 10 to the Bears.
Well said. Niners at 11. A lot of buzz around the Niners. They trade Deebo Samuel. We've heard talk about Brandon Ayuk. They usually don't pick around here, so this is a big one. I think this pick's going to be a defensive lineman, whether that's a D-line or an edge. I'll go Mike Green in this spot.
Oh.
I think they really want a pass rusher to pair across from Bosa, but I would say plenty of the interior players are in play here as well. Obviously, you could even say, if they think Jalen Walker's an edge, but I'm going to go with Mike Green here for the Niners. I think pass rusher is very, very much in play for them, and I think Shanahan is the type of guy, like we saw with Dominic Pooney last year, thinks they can capitalize on the value of a day 2 offensive lineman and get more out of them. But they know more about the status of Trent Williams' future than us, health-wise, so... Like if they feel like, hey, we gotta get a premium tackle now, then we'll do it. But this is more of line of what I've heard.
I have not seen this pairing before.
Well, Green's usually not there.
Oh,
Panthers.
Sometimes.
Panthers.
Yeah.
No, he's there sometimes. It's true.
Yeah, I
mean, Jim. Never gets old.
Dallas Cowboys up at number 12. They got offensive line needs, no doubt. Zach Martin retiring, salute. Future Hall of Famer.
What a career.
They got Cooper Beebe who can play center for him now. Tyler Smith playing left guard. Terrence Steele's playing left tackle. Man, they could use an offensive lineman.
Yeah.
They got Guyton in there that they can obviously throw in one of those spots. They're hoping that Guyton, is your future starting left tackle for a long time. You got those two guys. So the left side of the offensive line's all right. I think they probably think they could wait on guard. There's so many tackles that are going to get kicked inside to guard. Because who would they pick here? I think that they would entertain Campbell if Campbell was here. Maybe Kelvin Banks.
Kelvin Banks is who came to mind immediately for me.
So the other guy that I'm thinking of, Kelvin Banks, is somebody who I think could play tackle. He's got 26th percentile arm length, but then if you zoom out to the total wingspan, it goes to 82nd percentile. He's got like
very big.
Dude's got like the longest shoulders you've ever seen in your life.
Yeah. I had him on the last day, and I had 8 offensive linemen, and it felt different when he walked over. Him and Simmons, just they carried their weight really, really well. I thought Banks looked like an NFL offensive tackle.
I'm thinking between him and Jihad Campbell because,
sure,
dude, their linebacker room's bad. Eric Kendrick's a free agent. DeMarvion Overshown had a major knee injury late in the season.
That's the brutal one.
Right now, their LB1 is Maris Liufau,
fun player,
who I like. But I didn't think that he'd be an LB1 in the league his second year in.
Right.
I think that if you have Jihad Campbell and Jihad Campbell's your LB1 and then Liufau is your LB2 in a couple of different roles, that I feel a lot better about. So I'm gonna take Jihad Campbell here at 12 and think that Dallas could go with a little bit of a scarcity argument here and maybe hit offensive line in the second round when we get to the second round. So I'll go Campbell. I'm gonna go Campbell here at 12. I just started to gravitate this pick more and more.
Dolphins at 13. This pick actually really didn't take me that long to think of, honestly.
No, it shouldn't.
You know what I'm gonna do?
If I don't, maybe we'll have some words.
Once again, this is a mock draft of how we think things are gonna fall. Very different from our rankings. I'm going with Nick Emanwari.
Whoa!
Yeah.
Whoa!
I was like, how do you know what I'm doing? What did you think I was doing?
Nicholas! I mean...
Did you think Barron?
No, I was going to say Kelvin Banks.
Interesting.
They need an offensive lineman, and he gives you the athleticism that you would want. And he could play... Because here's why I would go offensive lineman.
They just never do this. They took Patrick Paul in the second round last year, so he's got to play.
I know they did, but Mike McDaniel said at his podium that right now they're operating as if Teron Armstead is not with them next year. They are... Now, he hasn't officially said that he's going to retire.
What was the money move they made with him?
What, did they move his money around?
They were acting like... The exact quote was like, "Oh, he might play for the minimum," but I thought that was more cap manipulation than actual.
They move his money to void years or something?
This is the Ian Rappaport tweet from February 25th.
Okay.
Dolphins left tackle Teron Armstead plans to take his contract down to minimum. I'm told from the $28.6 million he was set to make. That allows the team to make all the necessary moves they want to make and allows Armstead, 33, to be on the team until he makes his decision on the future. I'm going to be honest with you. I have no idea what the hell any of that means. Like, it's not he's
So-
playing for the minimum salary. It's not that he's retired. It's not that he hasn't retired. It sounds like a whole lot of we don't know right now.
So that to me, and let me tell you, amateur Madden cap guy here.
Okay, fair enough. I'm listening.
To me, that makes it seem like somehow, some way, they're obviously moving the money to where like he's making the minimum as of right now.
So when free agency opens, it's more operating room.
Correct, but in order to do that, they probably would have had to attach like void years to his contract.
Yeah.
But then if he comes back, you can just turn those void years into like actual contract years. So
it's a cap manipulation maneuver why he's up in the air on if he's playing.
Exactly. Yes. So he's down to the minimum to make it easier for the Dolphins to do what they need to do. And then if he comes back, it's probably a scenario where they go, okay, well, your game checks are going to be for the minimum this year because that's how we operated. But then you will get whatever money you were supposed to get. It's just spread out over like void years after you retire or something.
Okay.
Brad's going to yell at me. I just know it. Brad's going to be like, these morons published this show with this kind of tomfoolery on there.
It's good that we make that part of our brand, though, that we're actually idiots, so people can't yell at us. Like, we tell you all the time, we're not smart.
So you're going with Nick.
I'm going with Nick, who had an electric week in Indianapolis.
6'3", 220, 43-inch vert, 11.6 broad. What was his 40?
4.4. Oh, 4.38's the official.
Yeah, don't shortchange him.
I won't. 4.3s. McDaniel might play him at receiver.
You play him a team president with numbers
whatever
like that.
he wants. Yeah, man. I mean, once again, I still have Malachi Starks ahead of him as a prospect, but I think the NFL loved this guy before Indy.
I mean, they draft aliens, man.
Thank you. That's exactly like the easiest out is always like, hey, the NFL loves aliens. This is one of them.
Yep.
And I think Javon Holland is gone. So
I do too. All right, Nicky Manwari to the Miami Dolphins is number 13. That's very interesting. Dolphins fans, listen, how do you feel about that versus an offensive lineman and Nick in particular is that pick there at 14? Very curious. The Indianapolis Colts at number 14. This one's pretty easy to me.
I think I agree.
I'm sprinting the card in for Jahdae Barron.
Oh, interesting. Okay. I don't dislike that at all.
Who are you leaning?
I think Colston Loveland is in play here.
For sure.
Yeah.
I also agree with you, but they have other playmakers they can go into the passing game. Jahdae Barron makes so much sense for Lou Anarumo coming in as a defense coordinator.
Yeah, he does. He helps a lot.
He will play whatever defensive position they need him to play, and he will play it very, very well, whether that's safety slot hybrid or playing as an outside corner like we saw him do at Texas. Now he runs the 4-3-9 official, and we get to see that he's got that long speed on the outside as well. So he didn't quite play that fast, but it's good to know that he has it in him. This is one of my favorite players in the class. I love Barron. Elite coverage grade this past season. Really good run defender. Guy who could tackle for you as well. He would be a perfect Colts pick in my opinion at 14. So you're up with the Falcons at 15.
I love it. Barron is somebody that I was just wildly impressed with. Obviously, the tape is the tape, but I just thought he ran faster than I expected, and everybody showed. The Falcons at 15, obviously they need a pass rusher pretty badly. I'm going to take Jalen Walker here. I had to double check. I'm like, he is on the board, right? We've talked about him 4 times. He is on the board.
He is.
I'm going to take Jalen Walker here.
Okay.
And I think in this scenario, they would play him at both positions. They would play him off the ball, and they would allow him to rush the passer.
Yeah, I think this is a nice spot with Raheem and Raheem's defense, because I do think that he could play as that outside linebacker type, and they could feel pretty good about it.
Yeah, I like the fit. This is kind of more where I value him. I feel like I've seen him earlier than this. I like him right in the middle. I think I had him ranked at 16 or whatever, 17. So I think this is a,
he's a little bit lower on my rankings just because, again, if the idea is linebackers his home base.
Well, I don't love that.
Linebacker was my least favorite tape that he had.
Right.
So, and if you tell me that edge rusher is his home base, he ain't built like an edge rusher. So
man, he's freaky though.
He is nice, and he's athletic, and I loved his podium, man. I keep saying former coach's kid, like he's not anymore. He is still a coach's kid.
You graduate.
Right. Yeah. He's the coach now.
Yeah.
But like just very well thought out answers about everything. You know, when he was asked questions about being an edge rusher, being a linebacker, being that defensive chess piece, you could tell that no question that he was asked was a question that he hadn't asked himself already and done the work to find the answers for. So you do have faith in players like that who understand the game and themselves within it very well. So I think that this is the start of the range for where I'd feel comfortable with Jalen Walker, and it kind of, to me, feels like where the NFL is as well. I didn't hear anybody say, oh, yeah, Jalen Walker, I mean, he's going to the top 10, no question about it. But this feels good. Cardinals at 16. James Pierce Jr. would be great for them. Walter Nolan would be great for them. Kenneth Grant would be great for them. Will Johnson would be great for them. They got options, man. I think the Cardinals are in a great spot. Because of how deep this defensive line class is, and because we're going multiple rounds here, I'm going to do the same thing I did in my written mock draft. I'm going to go with Will Johnson here because Will Johnson would give them a complete cornerback room with Johnson, Max Melton, Garrett Williams. You throw Sean Murphy-Bunting in there as well. How many... Is he in the last year of his contract? I think he might be. But Will is the CB1 then of that team, which also, I just thought of this, makes it hilarious in practice because he goes up against Marvin Harrison Jr. again.
Oh, man.
Every single day.
That is really good.
Talk about an iron sharpens iron.
Yes.
I'm actually not changing this pick just for that. Just because I hope that the Cardinals get Hard Knocks or we just get a pay-per-view stream where we get to watch practice every day in Arizona. So I'm going Will Johnson here for the Cardinals at 16, and I'm going to see which pass rushers we can get in round 2 here for him.
I think that's the right value. Will Johnson at 16, both for him and for Arizona, capitalizing on, a guy that's really talented in this draft. Good size, really good eye discipline, obviously ball skills. The Bengals at 17, I feel like I've made this pick a lot, but for good reason. I'm going with Kenneth Grant here. They franchised T. Higgins this week.
Could see it.
So wide receiver looks pretty dang good with the hopes of getting an extension done. I know they released Alex Kappa, but I don't think I need to take a guard at 17. Like you're telling me in this class where every other tackle is being asked to move inside, I can't get a guard in the second round. Mm-hmm. So give me let's bring the beef to the middle of this defense with Kenneth Grant.
100%. No, I think that it's definitely since Cincinnati is tagging T. Higgins and he ain't going anywhere. All eyes are on defense. All eyes are on defense, and maybe a Malachi Starks I think is in play here, but certainly making the defensive line a lot better is something that I don't think too many people are going to push back on. Seattle Seahawks. Well, I was going to take Nicky Manwari here.
That sucks.
Until you ruined my Christmas.
Well. Yeah, that's brutal, actually. This is the bit. I got nothing for you.
Yeah, there's no way around it. You got owned.
Well, it appears I've been owned.
All right. I got 2 names.
Okay.
Kelvin Banks Jr.
Yep.
Gray Zabel.
Yep.
Those are the 2.
Man, Banks on this team at guard is pretty nice looking.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. And you know what? It is going to be Kelvin Banks Jr., and this is the perfect scenario for the Seattle Seahawks because Abe Lucas missed all that time last year due to the chronic knee injury that he has. Lucas says that he's good to go. He said he was feeling good at the end of the season, which I'm very thankful for because he's a good football player when he's healthy. But if you draft Kelvin Banks, you have an immediate starter at guard, in my opinion, and then you have a contingency plan at offensive tackle if something ever happens to Abe Lucas. So to me, I don't know if Kelvin Banks makes it to 18, but it'd be hard to pass him up if the Seattle Seahawks have him on the board and in their sights. So I'll go Kelvin Banks at 18 here.
He's very impressive, man. First thing I asked him was, I'm like, you're 20 years old, and you've already played 3 years at left tackle for Texas. Mm-hmm. Like, that's pretty rare air. And, he obviously is really thankful just for having all that experience. And he's like, once you get it, you don't want to lose that. Like, you want to hold it down. That means a lot. And he's just a really well thought out dude that I think cares about his teammates, as much as anyone. And I think teams are really going to like that personality on the offensive line. And your point, Trevor, that, he has all this experience at left tackle, but can play other positions with his, just with his skill set. That's a big win for Seattle in that slot. 19, the Bucks. This is the most conflicting, shocking, kind of actually surprising, one of the more conflicting picks I have to make. Because I'm going to be honest with you, I don't think James Pierce is going in the top 20. But obviously, if you're sitting here, the first player, in my opinion, you think of would be him, wouldn't it?
It's him or Ezeraku, in my opinion.
Man.
I think it's one of those. I think the answer to the question comes down to what Todd Bowles said at his podium, and that is which football player allows you to blitz less. And the fact that Todd Bowles himself said that, the king of blitzes, the innovator of blitzes,
loves that.
His legal name might actually be Blitz, and Bowles is just like a cover-up or a name change because they didn't want offensive coordinators to know what was coming. This dude loves to bring pressure in a lot of ways, but even he said we've got to get after the passer without blitzing. So whether you trust the athletic ability and explosiveness or James Pierce Jr. more, or you trust more of the production for what we saw of Ezeraku, to me, for Tampa, it comes down to that. I think if Mike Green's on the board, he is certainly within the conversation of them taking him at number 19 as well. But that's what I think. I think they're trying to get a pass rusher that allows them to blitz less.
You know who I think's better than both of them, though, and came in at a weight where I was like, yeah, that's a good sign? Nick Scorton.
Oh.
257 pounds.
Yeah, a lot lighter.
Lot lighter. And I'm assuming he's going to do everything at the pro day.
Yeah, because he didn't do anything.
No, he didn't do anything.
Right?
I think he's just a better player than those guys. And it's tricky.
You think the NFL thinks so?
I think it depends what you prefer. If you want somebody with heavy hands, Scorton, it's not even close compared to those two, in my opinion. If you want somebody that has elite, speed, it's Pierce. If you want someone that I think just simply knows how to rush the passer, it's Ezeraku. Which, it was interesting to me Ezeraku didn't run, because my number one thing I wrote down when we watched him was, I was like, I don't think he's that fast for a lighter rusher. But
yeah.
This is tricky. I'll go with Ezeraku here. Mm-hmm. I think Scorton is the significantly better player than both of those guys.
I just, until I hear otherwise, I think that they would love Ezeraku.
It's the kind of player they need. And let me make this clear. This isn't a bad pick. He fits exactly what this defense needs on the edge, standing up. Or you can play with the stand in there, but really a stand-up guy. Stand-up rusher.
He's a real
stand-up guy. He's a nice guy.
No, he is. He's just a stand-up guy.
I'll go Ezeraku at 19.
I think that's a good pick. I think he is their type of player for sure. The Denver Broncos here at number 20.
Oh, man, on a platter.
Who, Colson?
Yeah, it just feels like it's on a platter.
Yeah, I mean, I just keep going back to Sean Payton, saying that he wanted that joker position player. Yep. Somebody who could play tight end, could play wide receiver, could play out of the backfield for you. And I think there's two really good joker type players. And when I say joker, I mean not that look at this joker. It's more of it's like the position. You know how you have a star backer, an apex defender, or something like that. Where
viewed
it's
as a joker card.
Yeah, correct. Yeah, there you go. Yeah. Just a versatile offensive weapon that could play around the middle of the field. I think that Luther Burden also fits that billing, right? Colston Loveland is like the tight end / wide receiver version of that. But Luther Burden, I think, is like the wide receiver / running back kind of version of that. Like what the best of Deebo Samuel kind of was when he was popping off in the NFL. So I think both of those guys will be on their radar, but they definitely need tight end. And Colston Loveland, I mean, for him to measure in at, what was his official measurements? It was above 6'5". Like he had really good size. And for him to be the route runner that he is at that size, it just feels like he's going to be a machine for Bo Nix if he ends up going to the Denver Broncos. So I will stay boring and keep this connection alive, and I'll say Colston Loveland to the Denver Broncos at 20.
Loveland, I believe, is dealing with a shoulder.
Yes.
He was on the Sims and Florio set, not my set, but I made sure to just kind of look over when he came over to interview with them. He is way bigger than anyone thinks, and he's dealing with a shoulder. Mm-hmm. He might be playing closer to 260 than people realize. when he's on an
Yeah.
NFL program. I know he didn't play at 260 in college.
He could certainly go higher than 20.
He's taller and wider than I think anybody expected. Obviously, people in the Michigan program know what he's about, but
Damn.
yeah.
Thick.
Yep. Yeah, Loveland of the Broncos at 20. I think he's going to go earlier than this, but in this situation, he didn't.
Steelers at 21?
Steelers at 21. Man, Shador is still on the board, isn't he? Totally forgot.
Yeah.
Not that it changes anything. I didn't forget, like, oh, I should have taken him there. Man.
I mean, I don't hate if you take him here, right?
I'm not going to.
Okay, all right, don't. Fine.
They're another team. I mean, yeah, it's possible. They're another team, though, where they have to get somebody in free agency, even if that's bringing back Justin Fields.
I think they're bringing back one of those two guys, but clearly they're not jazzed about it.
I don't think it'll be Russ, but it's weird to me with how things went with Fields this year. If he has other options, I would think he explores those options, but who knows?
I'm just going to be honest. I absolutely could see Shedeur Sanders going here.
I know. I'm kind of talking myself into it slowly.
I could absolutely see it.
Yeah, you're not wrong. And it also is an environment where, like, I think some of this is nonsense, but some of it isn't. I think some coaches are like, oh, man, if things don't start off right, or am I going to hear the Dion noise? Like, Mike Tomlin doesn't think about any of these things. He doesn't think, he does not give a you-know-what about any of these things.
To quote Mike Tomlin himself, we do not care.
Yeah. Well, he is a legendary human being.
Truly.
Legendary, like, I don't give a human being in that regard. Yeah, I'm going to go with Shedeur here. You really talked me into it. Because
if he's still on the board, I would imagine that this would make a lot of sense for them.
Because they didn't have to move, and you're not and they did this with Kenny Pickett a couple of years ago.
Right.
Where they were like...
And that worked out great.
And why not try it again?
I thought of that. I just want you to know, I thought of that 30 seconds earlier, and I was like, God, I hope he doesn't bring up Kenny Pickett as a reason why he's doing this.
Oh, we've had so much success with waiting for our quarterback prospects in the past.
Super Bowl champion Kenny Pickett.
That's it. You cannot take that away from him.
No, and we would never.
New Jersey's very own. All right, so thanks. You talked me into Shedeur Sanders just to absolutely pull the rug out from under me and own me. He's the pick at 21.
I actually do. Again, I like this a lot. I know they've talked about like, oh, probably one of these two quarterbacks back. We're not going to bring both of them back, even no matter who it is. Like if it's Russ or Fields, it doesn't matter. I would, if Shedeur's here for the Steelers, I'm okay with this. I feel better about this. This is an actual environment where I think Shedeur could thrive and not have a ton of unnecessary pressure one way or the other. So Shedeur to the Steelers at 21. Chargers up here at 22. I think a lot of people are going to be interested in Khalil Mack. It sounds like they're going to move on from Joey Bosa. So with Tuli Tuipulotu, the only edge rusher that is there, I think edge rusher could make a ton of sense for them. Interior defensive line could make a ton of sense, I believe. Derek Harmon, Walter Nolan, James Pierce Jr., all of these guys are still on the field. And Emeka Egbuka is there. Matthew Golden is there. I gave them Tyler Booker in my written mock draft. And my reasoning for it was because if you're moving on from Bradley Bozeman, and it was sort of reported, Joe Ortiz talked about how Zion Johnson's getting some reps at center. If you could then throw Tyler Booker in there, this would be one of the couple of spots that I actually think makes sense because they run a lot more power between the tackles. Right. If you're drafting Tyler Booker to his own blocking scheme, I'm not drafting him in the first round. But I do think that the NFL really loves Tyler Booker. And one of those teams that I think could really love Tyler Booker is the Los Angeles Chargers.
Sure.
So do they believe that they can get a wide receiver later in this draft? Do they believe they could do the same thing with pass rusher? I don't know.
And they might lose Josh Palmer in free agency, who, I mean, it's it emphasizes the point of needing another wide receiver. Unless you think QJ and Ladd is all you need to go into the year with. Which
no,
is not,
obviously not.
That's not the case at all.
Obviously not. Don't pin that on me.
I'm just, yeah.
All right, it's Burden or Egbuka.
You're in a blender.
It's Burden or Egbuka.
Booker's instantly out all of a sudden.
Yeah.
Never even considered him here.
I just wanted to make sure I defended my pick in the written mock, how I actually think that they really would consider that because of how much the NFL loves Tyler Booker, and I could imagine the Chargers being one of those teams that does so. But wide receiver is very scarce here for them. I'm going to go with Buka. I think he's the better blocker as well.
He is, but who's playing on the outside? Him or Ladd? Him?
Probably him.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think that he did that enough when he was.
Yeah. I'm not saying he can't do it. I was just curious.
No, you were doubting him.
No.
You were calling him a certified scrub. Quoting Stephen A. Smith directly. All right, you're up. You asked for it. You're up for the Packers at 23.
Yeah, yippee. All right, so Buka goes 22 to the Chargers. Packers at 23. Man, we all know that they have their very specific types.
And they're trying to trade Jair.
And they are trying to trade Jair. Although, I don't know where the hell that one goes. I mean...
I think he gets dealt. I don't think he's a Packer. I think he's out.
Oh, I don't think so either, but there's no value there. There's been open friction with him, and he doesn't play very much for them.
Right.
So you're thinking corner's like a number one need.
I think corner is a need for them for sure.
It is a need for them.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously, I really like Azareye'h Thomas for them. I'm probably not going to have him go at 23. Although he's my corner.
Savone Revel.
That's another guy that can go in this spot. And I like those guys quite a bit. I would have no problem taking either of them here. I'm going to be honest with you. And check me if I'm way off base here. Do you think there's a world where they consider taking Jaden Higgins here?
No.
You don't think so?
Because I don't think that they'd view Jaden Higgins as that much of an upgrade over the other wide. Like, for them to take a wide receiver here at 23, in my opinion, that player would have to be so clearly head and shoulders above Jaden Reed, where you're not even questioning who the wide receiver one is on this team.
I just think they play different positions.
No. I'm not saying they play the same position. But what I'm saying to you is it all comes down to, do you think the NFL views Jaden Higgins as a wide receiver one? Like, no question about it.
I don't think you have to after we just had Emeka Egbuka go at 22. I don't think the NFL views Emeka Egbuka as a wide receiver one.
But I'm saying specifically for the Packers. Like,
maybe
over a corner.
I'd like to know. I don't know. I'm very curious how his stock is going to kind of...
Ryan Gutekunst, we know you're watching. Just text us.
Let us know. Just so I don't have to make this pick again. I'm going to go with Revel.
Okay.
Actually, man, I think it's closer between him and Azareye'h than people realize. And why I'll say that is, not only is Azareye'h obviously healthy, but he is 20. He'll turn 21 right before camp. He's played over 300 snaps in man coverage. I think they're almost the same size. I want to double check that. I think they're both 6'1" and a half.
Yeah. Oh wow, he was 6'1" and a half.
Yeah, he's big. Revel's not like Revel's that old. He'll be 23 when he enters camp on draft night. Both have long arms. Yeah, both are right under 6'2". Man, that's true. I think I would. It's a flip a coin. I'll go Revel here just because he's a little freakier, I think.
Yeah.
Like before he got hurt, I think it was Bruce Feldman was like, he's going to run maybe sub 4.4. Like,
like
at that
4.3s.
size.
Right.
But had both corners. Love them both.
And I think that Revel is stronger. So.
Maybe. I don't know. It's hard to dictate when we watched Revel play again at ECU compared to watching Azareye'h. It was in like one-on-ones at the Senior Bowl. So that's where that's a little tricky. But yeah, I'll go with Revel. I think this is a total coin flip between these two. And I think Azareye'h's, his stock's been going really, really upward since the season ended.
Vikings are up at number 24. I've said this before. We're not doing trades in this mock, but the Vikings would have to love a player here at 24. I mean love for them to make this pick. Because right now they only have 4 picks in the draft. They pick here at 24. They don't pick again until 97. So they would love to get more picks in this draft.
Yeah, but who wants this pick?
Who want me? Meme.
Like, there's not a player on the board where I'm like, man, I want to really pay a big cost to jump up for that guy right now.
I don't know, brother. We got teams at the top of the second round that could jump up for.
Well, a team has to love Jackson Dart.
I mean, it doesn't just have to be Jackson.
Maybe
you know?
Starks is a good one. I think Starks is just wildly underappreciated at this point, which is funny because I feel like I was low man on him last summer.
I agree with you. I think the player that makes the most sense is Azarie, to be honest with you.
Okay.
Double checking Minnesota's depth chart here.
I don't think that's wrong.
Byron Murphy, Shaq Griffin, Cam Bynum, Stephon Gilmore, all of those dudes are free agents.
Yeah,
now, like some of them could be back, and they have Mekhi Blackman, but if you get yourself Azarie Thomas, you probably feel pretty good about how you're going to navigate free agency.
Right. Well.
And then you can get a running back later in this draft because they're really good. Yeah, I'll go Azarie Thomas here. Okay. So Azarie 24 to the Minnesota Vikings. Now you're up with the Texans at 25. Ooh, this could be a Tyler Booker spot. I'm just looking at Tyler Booker's name.
They do need offensive line help, but man, how do I not take one of the receivers in this spot?
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
But I don't think it's a layup as much as Burden's here. But
I think Golden goes above Burden now.
Right. It's a matter of what role you want them to play. But man, you have Nico Collins on the outside, and I can play Golden in the slot while I'm waiting for Tank to get healthy, which is going to be a long road. Like, let's be honest with ourselves here.
A lot of people in human history have been waiting for Tanks to come, give them reinforcement.
It has helped in the past.
It's just,
I'll take Matthew Golden in this spot and hope they can get their offensive line help not only in free agency but on day 2.
Can I say this?
I know what you're going to say, and please do.
He doesn't play at 4.29.
He does not.
He doesn't. He doesn't.
Doesn't run by a ton of people, and that's okay. He makes it work. He's a great route runner. He's got A+ tracking, good hands.
Is it nice to know that it's there?
Yes.
Yes. But he doesn't play like he's a 4.29 player.
Imagine if you just showed somebody a game each of him and Isaiah Bond, and you said, who's faster?
Yeah, Isaiah Bond. I would say every game.
I'm not saying it means anything. I'm just saying.
Every game that you showed me of those two, I would tell you that Isaiah Bond's a faster football player.
Isaiah Bond would tell you he's a faster football player.
Isaiah Bond would tell you a lot of stuff.
What are your thoughts on fans at the Combine and booing?
I mean,
it's not
the booing is insane.
It's not good.
It's insane.
It is not good. Can you imagine, Trevor? You walked in your job.
Didn't they boo Will Howard?
They booed the shit out of him. Obviously, it's anti-Ohio State people. But imagine being at your job interview and somebody's in the back of the room just booing your ass.
I actually kind of like that. That's Goggins' mentality.
It was not a great look.
It's Goggins' mentality. Boo me at the interview so I could have more adversity. All right, Matthew Golden to the Texans at 25. Rams at 26. Matthew Stafford in hand. Alaric Jackson's a free agent. Right? They didn't.
No, I think they got the deal done.
They did get the deal done.
Yeah.
There was a little bit of hesitation there. I was like, wait a second.
3-year deal.
Okay, so Alaric Jackson's coming back. That's nice.
Yeah, he's saying, screw you. I'm here.
Good.
Makes drafting easier.
Man, they could use a corner.
They really could.
Would they think Maxwell Hairston here? 26?
You and I were lower on him.
Yeah, we were. It does feel a little early, but again, it's what we would do. Felt like everybody at the Combine,
you're right. Can't
just talking him up. I'm not saying that he gets in the first round for sure, but I think this is where the conversation starts.
As I'm looking at this is one of the hardest slots we've had.
Yeah.
Man, I almost feel like I would just take Malachi and figure it out.
That's what I did in my written mock.
Oh, okay. Well,
because Malachi is just too good. You want to
see me do it again?
Malachi is just too good. I think that they would make the most of it. I mean, Luther Burden is here, right?
Yeah,
I mean,
and Cooper Kupp is not going to be on this team.
And Cooper Kupp's not going to be there, and DeMarcus Robinson's a free agent.
That's a good point. Wide receiver all of a sudden becomes
and Tutu was a free agent.
Yeah, that's interesting.
So they have Puka Nacua, they have Jordan Whittington, and then that's it. Nah, brother. Nah, we're going Luther Burden.
You went with the fun pick.
Yeah, we're going Luther Burden here. We're going Luther Burden.
I'm hearing rumors we're going Luther Burden.
26 to the Los Angeles Rams. Book it. Baltimore Ravens, you're up.
So the Ravens on the clock. They are a team that could probably use a little bit more pass rush. They are going to have a lot of interesting decisions on the offensive line.
Mm-hmm.
Like, what happens with Ronnie Stanley? Doesn't that kind of dictate what happens with this pick, in a sense? Although...
100%.
You would think that they find a way to bring him back, but nothing's guaranteed in this life. As Greg Schiano once said that to me. The real...
What were you saying? Like, hey, Greg, how you doing? Beautiful day, huh? And he goes, nothing's guaranteed in this life. And then he just keeps walking.
Honestly, pretty much. Pretty much. I basically said, what's it like having a guy like Kyle Monangai going into this season who's a guaranteed 1,000-yard back? Now, Kyle went over 1,200 yards again this year, but Greg reminded me nothing is guaranteed. And I said, you know what? That's fine.
That's some extreme coach shit.
I was just trying to give Kyle Monangai a little love.
Hey, man, you got a good football player. No, I mean, he's got to earn that every day. Every single time his feet hit the ground when he gets out of bed, he's got to earn that.
Yeah, imagine saying that about, like, Saquon Barkley. Nope. Got to do it again this year, else no one cares. Anyways, that's good times. All right, so once again, nothing guaranteed that Ronnie Stanley's back. Mm-hmm. If that was the case, you're looking in the Josh Simmons, Josh Connerly bucket here.
Yep.
That is tricky. That is really tricky.
I feel like it's about time that we get Josh Simmons off the board, to be honest with you.
I know. He's going to be one of the more perplexing guys to mock draft this year. But I'll go with him in this spot.
Okay.
When healthy, you could argue he has much more talent than being the 27th overall pick.
That's what I'm saying.
But
and with him saying that with him saying that his rehab is ahead of schedule, and with us not hearing anything out of the combine of like, yeesh.
Right.
His knee's not good.
Right.
Then I believe him.
Right.
So I agree with you. All right, Josh Simmons there to the Baltimore Ravens. Detroit Lions at 28. All right, Kevin Seidler's a free agent. Marcus Davenport's a free agent. Carlton Davis is a free agent. You got Ennis Rakestraw Jr. You got Terran Arnold. You got those guys there. You feel good about it. The secondary's good to go. Defensive line. They still have Zadarius Smith. They have Josh Pascal as well. A lot of depth guys in the defensive line. Unrestricted free agents for them. Is this that James Pierce spot? Is this that Michael Williams spot? Is this that Nick Scorton spot? I think probably.
Man, they took Rakestraw in the second round. Like, I don't even remember hearing his name called.
No, they had a couple of veterans that played over him.
He got hurt. Yes, he got hurt.
Yeah. I wonder if we start to have the Landon Jackson conversation here at 28 with as good of a combine as he had.
Yeah. Possibly.
I mean, that's the least confident I've ever heard.
I like it, possibly. Kind of wild that Walter Nolan's still on the board for us too, by the way.
I know. Yeah.
But
he'll go off the board here in a couple picks. I'm not worried about it.
Yeah, now that I look at the board, I mean, Nick Scorton would be a home run to me here. But I think I differ on this one.
I don't know if he's their type, but I'm going to go James Pierce Jr.
Okay.
Because if you are allocating a lot of demand to the left side of the defensive line with Aiden Hutchinson, DJ Reader, and Lee McNeil, and you are giving James Pierce Jr. just a one-on-one every single time with the offensive tackle, like, I like betting on that speed there. I really do. So I'm going to go with James Pierce Jr. for the Lions at 28.
I know you were at a lot of the workouts. I was watching them, and he ran in a hoodie.
He did.
So, like, Eisen and DJ are on the broadcast. They're like, man, can't remember a lot of those. Like, why would you run in a hoodie, basically?
Yeah.
So, of course, they had Stacy, get on the detective case. And it was not verbatim, but Pierce was basically like, I forgot my shirt at the hotel. It's like, this is the biggest moment of your life.
He should have just done it shirtless.
I was thinking that. I wonder if you're allowed to do that.
No, there's no way they let you.
There's no way you're allowed. You should be allowed.
You should be.
I would feel my fastest without a shirt. I think all of them
100%.
would.
100%.
Yeah. All right. The Commanders at 29. I'm taking Nick Scorton here. Got there. I mean,
Smart.
man, he is a really good player. This is late for him. He's got good hands. He was playing too heavy this year. I had hit both him and Shamar Turner, and I was really asking him about the scheme they were in. And it's just, they didn't complain about it. I kind of pushed it out of them. It's just not a numbers scheme, that A&M defense. They had a lot of responsibilities. They had to worry about gap control and contain. It wasn't like, let me pin my ears back and just rush like a maniac and pile up numbers. And I think him playing at a lighter weight and getting a little bit more chances to kind of pin it back and go, Scorton's going to kind of remind everybody who he was at Purdue.
The Bills, I mean, they'd be doing backflips at this point if the board falls like this. Walter Nolan's on the board, Derek Harmon's on the board, Darius Alexander's on the board.
Right.
I mean, Tyreek Williams is here, TJ Sanders is here. Like, it just could not have broken better for the Buffalo Bills. It feels weird that Walter Nolan is still here. I don't really disagree with a lot of the picks that we have made already in this mock draft. So I think just like
people have to fall, man. Like what,
And it's true, and obviously we're doing this mock, and it's hard to not have team needs in mind when we do a mock. When we do our first like post free agency mock, I'm wondering if Walter kind of shoots up because 17 for the Bengals. You could have very easily picked Walter.
Oh
Nolan
yeah,
there.
that's who it was between.
12 for the Dallas Cowboys. I could have very well picked Walter Nolan there. So maybe we're not taking that into account enough here for this mock, but we'll see. I think I agree with a lot of the logic of how we came to some of the picks, but I'll take him here for the Buffalo Bills. Supremely talented, incredibly high run defense grade this past season. He even had an improved grade against true pass sets. The pass rush win rate was going up. The solo run stop percentage was very, very high for him. So a really good run defender first and foremost, and then somebody that you hopefully can teach some pass rush moves to. So Nolan to the Buffalo Bills, I think is a perfect fit for him.
31, the Chiefs. I'm going with Josh Connerly here. They need to get better. They need to get better at tackle. He's a true tackle. This is like one of the easier picks of the entire mock draft.
Yep. I truly think that it is offensive tackle no matter what for the Philadelphia Eagles. Or sorry, for the
Kansas City Chiefs.
For the Kansas City Chiefs. I think that it has to be. The Eagles, now rounding out this first round before we get to the second round of the mock, they build around the trenches a lot. I think they have some trench players that they already like who are in reserve who might be able to start at right guard for them, but Tyler Booker is here.
Oh, wow.
He did play at an SEC school. And when it comes to losing Milton Williams, losing Josh Sweat, losing Brandon Graham, they have Moro Ojomo, they have Nolan Smith, they have Jalix Hunt, they have Bryce Huff. And when it comes to the interior guys, they have Jordan Davis, they have Jalen Carter, they have Byron Young, the one from Alabama, not the edge rusher who plays for the Los Angeles Rams. So they certainly could go defensive tackle here, but I am going to go with Tyler Booker and think that they could just plug him right where Mekhi Becton was.
Yeah, wow. There you go.
So, again, I think the NFL is higher on Tyler Booker just overall.
Yeah, they are.
I think this is totally fine. Like me as a draft analyst, I think this is, okay, yeah, sure. All right, Tyler Booker right here, back of the first round. I like it. A lot of people think he's going a lot higher than that, and that's where you lose me when it comes to the total value, versus how he tests athletically, what he is when it comes to zone blocking situations. But when you're plugging him into the Philadelphia Eagles offensive line, I mean, he's just going to be an ass kicker, especially playing next to Jordan Mailata. And, I guess he wouldn't play next to Mailata. Landon Dickerson plays next to Mailata. But playing next to Lane Johnson, no slouch there. future Hall of Famer Lane Johnson. So I'll go Tyler Booker. And that rounds out the first round. So we're going to get to the second round as well. Going to go a little bit more rapid fire there. Before we do that, though, got a question for everybody out there. What's your child's future success look like to you? Maybe it's them traveling the world. Maybe it's a great job, just living in a house that they absolutely love, having a job that they love. Whatever that is, you can help them achieve that with a kid's investment account from Fabric. By making a contribution to your child's future today, you can give them the means to pursue whatever their dreams are, big or small, thanks to Fabric by Gerber Life. Fabric by Gerber Life was designed by parents for parents to make it easy to plan for and manage your family's financial path. With the kid's investment account from Fabric, you can start investing in your child's future today. Kids cannot invest while they are minors, but you can invest on their behalf with this kid's investment account. Gives their investments more time to grow. Starts with just $20. Very easy to sign up. Whole thing is online. No contribution limits, tax advantages. Funds are SIPC insured up to $500,000. Plus a no commission, low flat monthly maintenance fee. That's it. You can use the funds for basically everything. When they're kids, it's sporting events, it's music classes, it's tuition, whatever. And then when they're a little bit older, maybe it's helping them get that first car, first house, start a new business, whatever it is. Join the thousands of parents who help Fabric who trust Fabric to help protect their family today. Start investing in your child's future at meetfabric.com/stock-exchange. That's meetfabric.com/stock-exchange. MEET fabric.com/stock-exchange. Portfolios are managed by Fort Washington Investment Advisors Incorporated. Additional services provided by Apex Clearing Corporation. All investing is subject to risk. Learn more at meetfabric.com. All right, so top of the second round now. We're going to run through this obviously a lot quicker. We'll talk about the prospects a little bit, but we'll sort of base it off of what we did in the first round. You are up with the Cleveland Browns at number 33, who have the top pick there. And Cam Ward was the selection here at number 2. So what are you doing for the Cleveland Browns at 33?
Taking Amari and Hampton. Obviously, size, speed. This gets Nick Chubb might test free agency. This gives Cam Ward a true workhorse 3-down back that he could lean on right away.
When I was thinking about it, when we were going through the first round, and even when I was doing my written mock draft, I feel like we're going to get multiple first-round backs this year. Mm-hmm. I just don't know how to do that yet without free agency playing out.
Right.
So Hampton's like the next guy off the board, I think. So it makes sense that you would go with him here at the very top. So Hampton at the very top. So they go quarterback and they go running back. Help with the offense there. New York Giants took Travis Hunter at number 3. No Shadur Sanders here. We think that they're going to do something in the pro market for quarterback.
Dart?
Kind of feel like this is Jackson Dart.
Yeah, I think so too.
Right?
In this scenario, yeah.
Jackson Dart or Jalen Milroe. I think it's probably one of the two. I'll go Jackson Dart here for the Giants. It means they get Travis Hunter at the top. They get Jackson Dart at the top of round 2. So that's their haul there. I feel like coming out of Indianapolis, I want to make it very clear. I didn't hear like a unanimous, oh yeah, the league loves Jackson Dart. Like he's totally going top 10. Like you got to think about him as a close QB3 in this class. I didn't hear that, but I did hear, some people in the NFL like him. So it makes me think that this is a worthy range here to get him off the board at the beginning of the second round.
All right, so the Titans are back on the clock here at 35. I think they need some pass rush help here still.
Well, after Abdul Carter?
Oh yeah, they forgot Carter went, not Ward. Good correction.
You made the pick.
God, a lot of time. We've been on here for a long time. A long time. Good catch, Trevor.
People.
That would have been bad.
People say they hate Subway. My brother in Christ, you made the sandwich.
Yeah. 10 out of 10. Perfect. So they got Abdul Carter. They pass on quarterback. Our thought process was that we think they're going to solve that in the pro market as well. It's just tricky because if tackle would make a lot of sense here, but we're looking at true tackles on the board.
Who's left?
We had that run go at the end of the first round because we had both Simmons and Connerly go in like a 5-pick range.
Yeah.
So
yeah, they got off the board pretty quick.
The value of that doesn't really add up. Corners, there was a good run on corners in that scenario. Honestly, this is probably another team this is a team that could probably still use another wide receiver, right? I mean,
yeah, totally. Nick Westbrook-Ikine is a free agent even, and so is Tyler Boyd.
Right, and they haven't gotten anything out of Treylon Burks.
Yeah.
I'm looking at the wide receiver market here. Let's look at how this board actually fell. Io Manor here.
This is where Higgins.
This is where Higgins comes off the board for
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
you get size, you get a little speed, somebody that can play above the rim. Higgins can play inside and outside.
Great combine. Just a fantastic combine for Jaden Higgins. So getting him off the board at the top of the second round. Jags at 36. Have them going Mason Graham in the first round. Ooh, Gray Zabel is perfect for this team. This is exactly what they would want.
This is his range.
They need interior offensive line help. Mitch Morris hasn't been what they wanted. Brandon Scherf's a free agent. Gray Zabel makes way too much sense to play either center or guard for the Jags. So they'll come away with Mason Graham and Gray Zabel. I like that strategy for them. You know, I explored them potentially going offensive line at the very top. I guess they could have gone offensive line because there's still, you know, Mykel Williams, Darius Alexander, Tyleik Williams. There's still a lot of these guys here. But, man, it just feels like if the Jags are going defensive and offensive trenches, this is a great haul for them. So I'll go Gray Zabel at 36, who I think could very well be a first round or two.
Raiders back on the clock at 37. You had them go Ashton Genty in the first round. I'm going to get one of the better value picks in this entire draft in Malachi Starks. I don't know if they'll be able to bring back Trayvon Merrick, but with that lingering up in the air, there's no way they could pass on what Starks could do on the back end of their defense.
There you go. I would love it. I would absolutely love it. There's some heavy hitters that are still out there right now.
Oh, yeah. Oh, man.
All right, so I had the Patriots take in Tetairoa McMillan earlier. Man, it's basically like, what offensive lineman could I get here? Man, but the defense, man, there's so many good defensive linemen. Let me look at their defensive line. Would they take one of these defensive linemen?
Well,
would they hit free agency hard?
It's cloudy because their best defensive lineman in Christian Barmore dealt with blood clots last year.
Dude. Derek Harmer or Darius Alexander.
Oh, wow.
Studs.
Yeah, that's not easy.
No, it's not. I don't know who the NFL is going to love more. They tested very similarly, too.
I know.
I'll go Harmon. I'll go Derek Harmon here, just because I have him ranked a little bit higher, and I wonder if the NFL is a little bit higher, too. The value's too good. I'm sorry, Patriots fans. You just got to hit offensive line real hard in free agency. If you do, you could have a hell of a haul like Tetairoa McMillan and Derek Harmon.
All right, so the Bears are on the clock at 39. I'm also going to get to pick for them at 41, which
lucky you.
Which makes this strategy kind of interesting.
And Will Campbell at 10.
They got Will Campbell at 10. I am looking at edge rush and running back in this spot.
I mean, Mike Hill has got to be one of them,
I was
right?
just going to say, this is actually where I think he should be drafted, ironically. I don't see Mike Hill getting that much further than this in the draft. The Bears are going to take the talent of Mykel Williams and hope to develop him into more than just a plus run defender.
Yep. Okay.
Good. I mean, that's where he should go. And this, I don't know.
You know, I agree with you.
I know. Longer combo. This is great for the Bears right now. I like how this is lining up.
All right. So New Orleans Saints, they went Tyler Warren at number 9. I think Darius Alexander would be a nice pick for them. Do we have any offensive tackle options? I don't think we did.
Not till you get, Ursery.
Yeah, I know.
I know. This is not.
I don't think the NFL is going to be that high on Ursery.
These are all third-round picks that we're staring at. And Jackson's a guard. I know he had to fill in a pinch at tackle. He's a guard.
Yeah. I would agree with you there. I wonder if they'd take. No, okay. They got the offensive weapon in Warren. We got to get a defensive lineman. I think Darius Alexander probably makes the most sense for them.
Somebody end this Darius Alexander run. He's been a candidate for every pick.
I'm making him the New Orleans Saints. He just can't fall too much further than that. So Darius Alexander. All right, the Saints now pairing Tyler Warren and Darius Alexander is a little 1-2 there. So you're back up with Chicago. So we've got Will Campbell, Mykel Williams.
My God. We're just.
What are we doing?
We are just getting nasty, hard-nosed, rugged players, and I'm going to keep that going with Quinshon Judkins in this spot. Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, let's get downhill. Let's get physical.
Third running back off the board.
Yeah.
I guess it's not that much of a stretch.
I'm telling you right now, it's not that much of a stretch. It's not.
All right.
Yeah.
Damn, look at these grades.
I mean,
yeah.
Judkins,
Elite combine too.
Elite combine.
Bears fans have pushed back hard when we have given them running backs at one of these two spots before.
Really?
So yeah.
Wouldn't you want a good running back on your roster would be my question. That's all I'm asking.
Maybe I've given them Cam Scatterbo before, and maybe they just don't like Cam Scatterbo.
Okay, let's see what they think about Quinshon
Bears
Judkins.
fans, yeah, please let me know what you think of this.
I think he's going to be a star, by the way, Judkins.
He's a stud, man. That's why this year was so frustrating, because he was the player that we wanted him to be sort of while he was at Ole Miss. He was our borderline RB1, right? It was Judkins and it was Ashton Jeanty.
He was my RB1. Jeanty was
going
2.
into the season.
Yeah.
And then he just didn't run with that same sort
Until when it mattered most.
Until when it mattered most. 100%.
That kind of counts.
Judkins off the board here. Jets up at 42. They took Armand Membu at number 7.
You're sitting kind of nice here.
I know I am.
Tyleek out there, Jack Besh. You have options galore.
Bull Rush McIntyre.
Bull Rush McIntyre. Although they need to bring the beef next to Quinnen. You're sitting. Yeah, you're sitting.
Tyleek.
Nice.
I think I like Tyleek the most.
What a beefy draft for a team that needs the beef. Membu and Tyleek.
I feel like the NFL is going to be real high on Maxwell Hairston now after that combine too. He's still here.
Yeah, my corner take with the Jets is they're going to let DJ Reed walk. They paid Michael Carter, who's a really good nickel. They are going to pay Sauce. So they're either going to let one of the young guys on the roster, like Quantez Stiggers, compete, or they'll look for a value corner like Heron on throughout the draft. But they have so many more pressing needs than who the corner is after Sauce and Michael Carter to do that here. That's just my take.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I was leaning Maxwell.
They are, well, free agency will tell us a lot. They are awful besides Quinnen Williams at D tackle, like unplayable levels. And
I think Tyleek would probably be their guy then.
Yes. And Glenn's defense needs that two-gapping brick wall.
All right, we're going Tyleek then.
Yeah.
We're going Tyleek for the Jets.
Jets fans are going.
Look at the beef. Look at the beef for the Jets.
They're going to love that draft, Jets fans.
Tyleek Williams, Armand Membu.
Let's get physical.
Aaron Glenn. Call us. Consulting. San Francisco 49ers took Mike Green at number 11.
Yeah, now that this is where they usually dive into the offensive line bracket.
Yes.
Let's look at their roster real quick. Obviously, Big Trent's at left tackle. Aaron Banks. Pooney had a really good year at right guard. Banks is a free agent. Wow. That's a big one. He feels like the kind of guy that gets paid a lot of money elsewhere, but we'll see.
Donovan Jackson could fit their guard spot.
You are all over it. All over it. Donovan Jackson. I was on the interior O-line. I'm like, how is he not here? He's on tackles.
He's at tackles.
Donovan Jackson. Okay. I love that fit a lot. I really like this player. He does not get the love he deserves, and he did have to play out of position this year when Simmons got hurt.
Yep.
Great left guard replacement for that Niners line, who has played tackle before.
Yep. And even as you see right here, like really good grades when it mattered most.
He held his own.
Offensive tackle.
And the whole Texas defensive line is NFL players.
Yeah.
Same with Oregon.
Yep. Held his own really well. No doubt. I would love that haul for them. Donovan Jackson and Mike Green, I think that's really great for the San Francisco 49ers. Dallas Cowboys, I gave him Jihad Campbell at 12. Here at 44. Do they pick Cam Scatterbo at 44?
I don't think so. Not with the other guys on the board. But we might have a different read on this. My read is Scatterbo's not going before Caleb Johnson, Dylan Sampson, and Travion Henderson. That's just my read.
I don't agree with it.
Yeah, that's fine. Yeah.
But
that's fine. Yeah.
Look, if the NFL wants to be wrong, they can be wrong. They can pay billions of dollars to be wrong. It's fine. They would need an edge rusher. We got Landon Jackson, Princely Monmielen, Braden Swinson, who I think is a really good player.
Yeah, he wasn't in my initial.
He wasn't in our edge rush group, and John Ledyard bullied me into watching him.
Yeah, that will be corrected.
He's very good. He's very, very good. I want to give him O-line.
You could also argue wide receiver for them, unless you think it's Jonathan Mingo hours.
No, I don't think it's real Jonathan Mingo hours.
The disdain in your voice. Disgust.
I wonder if they'd pick Trey Harris here. You think he goes this high?
I hope so. That would be... Trey Harris is awesome. I mean, yeah, it's a little early. You're right, but...
I'm going to take Trey Harris.
I have no problem if they did this.
Yeah, I think this is kind of where the range starts for him. I don't hate wide receiver. I would take Alec Iomaner. I feel as though the Cowboys would go for a little bit more flash.
Okay.
Trey Harris. So...
Do you ever sit and wonder sometimes, like, you know how we look at quarterbacks and wide receivers that are drafted into the NFL together, and one guy might turn into a star and the other guy doesn't do anything?
Mike Evans and Johnny Manziel.
That's like the pinnacle example.
Right.
I'm not saying Dart will be drafted over Trey Harris, but sometimes I sit there and I'm like, man, in 3 years are we going to be like, why didn't people care that Trey Harris was doing all of these things for Jackson Dart?
Maybe, man.
I think about it sometimes.
Did Zach Wilson play with Puka Nacua?
He had to have.
Right?
Yeah, he
How
had.
much
but
was
I
it?
don't think Puka never had a big year in college. That's the funniest thing.
Let's see if they had any sort of overlap. I don't know if they would have.
No. Puka transferred from Washington and came the following year, right? Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. Yep. He was 1 year late. He was 1 year late on Zach Wilson. I just that one also popped into my head just randomly. So
well, what's the Antonio Brown one? Who was his college quarterback? I guess that's a combo for another day, but that's a
when
good...
he at Central Michigan. So I don't know if there would have been a...
I'm pretty sure he was drafted after his college quarterback.
No way, really?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure. Why is this this is like randomly in my brain.
I did not know this. Who's his college quarterback? Now I got to know. Now I'm dying to know. Who is his college quarterback?
Dan Lefevre, who was drafted in the 6th round.
Oh, wow. Where was Antonio Brown drafted?
Wasn't he drafted in the 6th round?
Let's see. 6th round. What pick number?
Oh, my God.
What pick number was Dan?
Dan Lefevre was...
Are we talking the 2010 draft?
2010 draft. Pick
Okay.
181.
Wow. Antonio Brown was 195.
Oh, my God.
We got there.
There's weird things stuck in my brain, and that was one of them.
That's about as weird as it gets, brother.
Yeah,
that is about as useless of a well-known sports fact as I have.
I have problems, like real
That's
issues.
not even winning you trivia on wing night
There's
on
literally
Tuesdays.
nothing for me. Nothing for me. Nothing productive. It just sits in there and occupies space instead of accomplishing the task when my wife leaves for the day she asked me to do. I go, Dan Lefevre was drafted before Antonio Brown. Instead of doing laundry. Yep.
Oh my gosh.
And now
that's
you
incredible.
all know it. So do with it what you will. I bestow this power upon you. 45, the Colts. You took Jahdae Barron for them at 14, which is pretty sweet. I'm not going to lie.
Correctly.
That was a good selection on your part.
Yeah.
Now I still want a tight end for this team. I just won't quit.
That's a good year for one.
It is. Mason Taylor or Elijah Arroyo. What?
How about your boy T. Ferg?
T. Ferg.
I'm not at 45.
No,
I wasn't talking
but
about him at 45.
He
but-
reminded everybody that he is an NFL player.
Yes.
T. Ferg,
Yep.
they call him Mr. Consistency.
Mr. Unlimited.
Oh, God. Speaking of the worst of things in brains. Mason Taylor or Elijah Arroyo for the Colts? Yeah, that's a tough one, huh?
I think they'd take Mason.
I think so, too. So I'm going to go with that because we were trying to predict the picks.
Yeah, legacy NFL pick. The Atlanta Falcons now at number 46.
Hey, did you know his dad's Jason?
You know his dad's Jason? Yes. Hey, did you know his uncle is Zach Thomas?
We have limited time right now, and I am just doing the worst job of maximizing it. Dan Lefevre and Mason Taylor facts.
Oh, wait. What's the
You're
one?
doubling down on it.
No, what's the one that everybody quoted? Not Ryan Fitzpatrick went to Harvard. We already knew that one.
Yeah.
Florida State player. His
all right, we're getting closer.
Grandfather, uncle was Jack Nicklaus. Who was it?
Oh no, I'm not going to answer this, but that is another one. That's another one.
The tight end / fullback dude.
Yeah.
Who was it?
I'm not going to remember the name.
Son of a.
Not going to remember the name.
The comments are going to murder us.
Yeah, they'll get it. But make them do some homework.
Atlanta Falcons at 46. They're all screaming at their radios right now, hoping, praying that it just, something clicks in our heads. Falcons at 46. Jalen Walker in the first round. Ooh, Demetrius Knight could, actually. They're not going to take Xavier Watts. They could take... No, this is where Maxwell would go.
You're in hell right now.
No, this is where Maxwell would go off the board. They
Okay.
need a corner. They need a corner opposite AJ Terrell.
Yeah.
And Maxwell with even though we were a little bit lower on him, the way I think the NFL is going to talk about this guy, it's second round, but it could potentially even be the back end of the first. So Harrison, the Falcons at 46.
All right, the Cardinals are up next. This to me is defensive line all the way. After they got a Will Johnson in the first round.
Good take.
Yes. That was your selection. Nice job. Do I go an undersized guy with twitch and pass rush like TJ Sanders, or do I go a beefy presence like Alfred Collins or Farmer from Florida State?
Ooh.
Yeah, tricky, right?
I think Collins gets drafted above Farmer.
Yeah. But what do you think about TJ Sanders and Shamar Turner? I think teams really like Shamar Turner, by the way.
I think so too, not at 47.
No, not at 47. This might be the TJ Sanders spot if you want a little disruption.
Let's do it.
Yeah,
I'm down with it.
Bull Rush McIntyre to the Cardinals at 47.
Yeah, I think he's awesome. I love TJ Sanders. So you took Nicky Manwari at number 13 for the Miami Dolphins. Who am I going to take for him?
Probably offensive line after you retired Teron Armstead on the show.
Probably feels like it has to... Does it have to be Ariante Ursery?
No. You know who's their offensive lineman? Like to a T?
Marcus Bowe.
Marcus Bowe.
Yeah, but are they going to take Marcus Bowe at 48?
I don't know. I'm not Chris Greer. What do I look like?
Chris Greer.
Quietly.
All right, I'll take Marcus Bowe. He does feel
Right?
like their offensive tackle. Yeah. Did you see Devin reported this. He said that Marcus Bowe loved playing basketball growing up, and he thought he might have gone pro in like basketball, and he just like modeled his basketball game after Derrick Rose. Which does that not make so much sense watching him play offensive tackle?
Yes.
Just like the crazy footwork.
Yeah.
Everything that he does is based around first step explosiveness.
Yep.
And quick feet.
That's why I think he would be like an all-star center, but...
Yeah, could be. I don't know if he goes this high, but we'll go Marcus Bowe here.
Bengals at 49. I know I took a defensive tackle, Kenneth Grant, for them at 17. Wanted to bring the beef. T. Higgins franchise tagged. They need...
Oh, dude.
My exact phrase was they need offensive line help. Why'd you...
Xavier Watts is there, and their new defense coordinator is Al Golden.
I know, but they need a guard, don't they?
They just released Alex Kappa.
Yes.
Yeah. Who are you going to pick?
I have options. I have plenty of
That
options.
didn't sound very confident.
As I sort
through them. Sounded very ambiguous and scrambling.
I can't take Savanaia to play guard.
You could.
I can't take Ariante Ursery to play guard.
You could. I think they'd take Xavier Watts over those guys.
Interesting. Yeah, I mean, why go into the season with a good offensive line? Joe Burrow's never needed that. Let's see how it goes this time.
Why be good when you can be bad?
Yeah,
that's what I've always said.
Very true. All right, so
I'll let you make the pick. I'm not hijacking this pick.
I'm going to take Watts with the caveat that, spoiler alert, if you're pissed that you didn't solve a need on this show, we have an answer for you in the future. So don't say this haul can't be this because you need this, because we might still walk away with what you're hoping for in a very, very near show. Did I sell that well?
You did sell that very well.
Stay
You're gonna
tuned.
have to
That's why you have to
stay tuned.
subscribe.
That's why
You don't
gotta
subscribe, you'll miss it. And then you'll walk away with a haul that's incomplete, and your team will fail.
Dire, dramatic, but also correct. Seattle Seahawks number 50. We went Kelvin Banks Jr. in the first round. Don't need Jack Besh. Don't need Trey Amos.
That's rude.
Man, Landon Jackson. This could be a Landon Jackson spot. I think I like. Let me look at linebacker. What's
Demetrius
where are they
Knight's
at
there.
with linebacker? Because I want to get Demetrius Knight off the board because I think he's awesome.
I wrote him up last night, and because you've been hyping this guy up for weeks. So I actually wrote him up last night, final report. Really did not want to like him because he'll be 25 as a rookie, and I really liked him.
It's so hard to not love this dude.
I really liked him. There's some come to balance issues where he blows by tackle attempts, but he is a wrecking ball. He's smart. He's physical. He has good eyes. I really liked him, and I was like, this is not the kind of player that I want to like. But
I'm the Jack Nicholson gif right now.
Yeah.
I'm just
good call. Good call.
Yeah.
I think we didn't do linebackers on this show yet, but I'll say I like him better than some players that are consistently consensus ranked higher than him at the position.
Well, I don't know if one of those players is Carson
It is.
Schwetzinger, but
I liked him better. I liked Knight better.
So I also did. I don't know if the league is going to agree.
No, they probably won't.
But Schwetzinger is also
We'll get into it for the linebacker show.
Screw it. I'm taking Demetrius Knight. I'm doing it.
You love to
at
see
50. Too good of a football player.
51.
Bucks up at 51.
The Bucks. Donovan Ezeraku was the pick at 19. I'd like to get a defensive back here, and I'm leaning Trey Amos. What is your thoughts on that, please, Mr. Buccaneer? Or Darian Porter. I could be talked into Darian Porter.
They already have Zion, so I don't know if
that's fair.
They will think they can hit the lottery twice.
Can't hit if you don't play the numbers.
I feel as though Benjamin Morrison will be more their guy.
Kind of forgot about Morrison, who I still don't
Right.
have. I think things are trending the right way medically for him, by the way.
I agree.
Yeah.
Again, I didn't hear anything negatively about Benjamin Morrison's hip.
Same.
And a couple of weeks ago, I reached out about it and heard that, no, his hip will be good to go. He'll be all right.
Let's go Morrison.
Yeah, I think that he is more their
Feisty
flavor there.
corner for Todd Bowles.
The Denver Broncos now up on the board at 52. We had them taking Colston Loveland at 20. I do feel as though this is where I'm going to get Carson Schwetzinger off the board. There's not really a safety that intrigues me. Linebacker is a big need for them.
This is
Wide
safety I
receiver
love
is
for
as
them
well.
here, but I don't know where he's ultimately going to go.
Who, Winston?
Winston.
I wonder if they'd take Schwetzinger over Winston.
Yeah, it wouldn't shock me. I think the league, like you said, I think the league likes Schwetzinger more than we have, Ben.
Because they have Cody Barton, but he's an unrestricted free agent. Outside of that, they have Drew Sanders, who's sort of like a linebacker edge hybrid.
He's a blitzer. That's what he was in college.
Yeah, I'm gonna go Schwetzinger here.
Okay.
I think he's the better pick for them. So you're up with the Steelers, who picked Shador in the first round.
Yeah, they got Shador. Need defensive back help and need a wide receiver. I kind of want to take Porter here. But do you think they need a wide receiver more, knowing that, it's George Pickens, and then kind of see what happens? And if you took Shador, you need wide receiver help around him. The wide receiver I would take, by the way, in this scenario, I think for them is Jalen Knoll. For context.
Ooh.
Yes.
Even with Roman Wilson?
Yeah, I know. They just didn't get anything because he was banged up out of Roman Wilson this year, so that's a good point.
I think they'd take Besh or Io Maynor over Knoll, who is great. I don't want to.
I would rather. Then I'm going to take Besh because Io Maynor, the Pickens problem begins, where you're just always playing in a phone booth.
Yeah.
Both him and Pickens rarely ever run by anybody, but they just make plays above the rim. I don't want a second guy like that. Now, Io Maynor is a great blocker, so is Besh. I'll go Besh here for the Steelers.
Okay. I think that
Talk
does
myself
complement
into
it
it.
pretty well. Chargers took Emeka Egbuka in the first round. I think that they would probably go with Landon Jackson, Princely Umanmielen, Braden Swinson, one of those dudes here. Maybe Jack Sawyer if they like Jack Sawyer this much. I don't know. I know we talked about Jack Sawyer at like the back end of the first round. I'm not convinced that happens.
No. I'm away from that.
Yeah, I am too. But 54 is a different story.
It's probably where his range is, like 50 to 75.
All right, just because I haven't heard any. Oh, maybe he does go with Landon Jackson here. You think they'd go Landon Jackson or Jack Sawyer?
Landon Jackson.
Okay, all right, we're going Landon Jackson.
Play him on the edge. Don't play him inside.
For sure. Yeah. He's an edge rusher for him, but he can kick in inside.
He can do it.
We love
just
about it.
like the edge tape better. Yep.
Totally.
Yep.
Totally.
All right, so Green Bay at 55. I had them go Savone Revel in the first round. Get a long, fast, athletic corner. Mm-hmm. They might lose Josh Myers in free agency.
Okay.
Or it feels like, I want to make sure it feels like they will. Which is kind of interesting here. Do you go with a big wide receiver like Io Manor? Or do you look at the interior offensive line market?
Interior line market.
Yeah, but again, what are the options?
I don't think they're in the business of just adding any wide receiver. I think they're in the same category that the Carolina Panthers are. Just because wide receiver is a need for them doesn't mean any wide receiver.
I agree, but my point is that wide receiver room is going to look different in some capacity, in my opinion, this year.
Jared Wilson and Tate Ratledge, I think, could be second-round picks.
I think so, too. Wilson's just a freak, huh?
Yeah, he's a crazy athlete. He could come in, and especially if they want to run more zone stuff, he's perfect for it.
He is, because he can get out of the gate and absolutely boogie.
I don't know if he'll go this high, but you talk about...
I think he's looking more third or fourth round, but...
Okay, I would agree. I think I would agree.
That's why this is...
You take Io Manor, then.
This is tricky. I'll go Alec Io Manor here.
My boy.
Big wide receiver. Grew up playing hockey in Canada, which is not common for an NFL prospect before he realized, hey, I'm pretty good at this football thing. Time to move to the U.S. Worked out pretty well.
I've got the Buffalo Bills up at number 56. Trey Amos is here, and it feels like a steal, to be honest with you.
They've made out well now in both slots with value.
Yeah, so I'll go Trey Amos. This one's too valuable for me. I feel like his talent could be fringe first round, so getting him at 56 is excellent with them taking Walter Nolan in the first round, but we also still have another Buffalo pick here coming up as well.
So the Texans are on the clock. I had them go wide receiver in the first round.
Matthew Golden. Yep.
Matthew Golden. I need offensive line help here.
This is where Big Jonah could come off the board.
This is where Savanaia comes off the board.
Or if you think Tate Ratledge could go second round.
He could. Wyatt Milam will be in that conversation, at least.
Milam
in the conversation. Savanaia, though, I think if you take him and play him at guard, that's where you get the best outcome for him.
Yeah, I do agree with you, and he moved super well for his size of the combine.
Yeah,
so I could see it. Panthers at 58 had them taking Shamar Stewart at number 8. Could definitely use a corner. Darian Porter's a pretty good bet to make there. And he's kind of like the last one. I don't think there's a safety. Oh, Kevin Winston Jr.
Yeah.
Also, Alfred Collins to play next to
Derek Brown.
I like a lot of this. Who do you think the NFL is higher on? Alfred Collins, Darian Porter, or Kevin Winston Jr.?
It might be like one of the best trios you could have used for that question. Winston, you have injury. Collins, you have kind of no pass rush tape, and the testing, I need to double check, but I remember being concerned about something. And then you said Porter, who played for 6 years, but was a kind of 1 year starter at best.
Yeah, he was.
That's like one of the hardest questions you could ask at. I would just always default to the traits and go with Porter. But Winston, I think, is the best football player of the three.
I was leaning towards Collins, actually.
Let's see how it goes. Well, you know what Collins can do. From day one, he could stop the run. From day one, on multiple alignments.
I'm looking at Carolina's
he's crunching the
depth chart
numbers.
here. Yeah, I'm crunching the numbers.
Let's see what the
it's
equation
obviously,
spits out.
38.33, repeating, of course. Chance of survival. They've got Shai Tuttle. They have Ashawn Robinson. They've got Derek Brown. So they're all right there. Oh, man, they're so thin at corner. All right, I'm going to go Darian Porter here until free agency tells me otherwise. So Darian Porter, just two athletic freaks for Carolina going Shamar Stewart and then Darian
kind
Porter.
of insane.
Yeah.
Ravens at 59. I had them take, I believe, Josh Simmons. Yes, Josh Simmons at 27.
Yep.
I'm going to get them an edge rusher and JT Tuimoloau out here at 59.
Okay.
Heavy-handed,
all right.
edge setter.
Teammates.
Hey, you like that? Practice against each other already.
There you go.
All right.
Lions at 60. I went with James Pierce Jr. there for them. Is there? I feel like offensive line. They're okay at offensive line, I guess. Now that I'm saying it, but like Anthony Belton, I feel like is their type. They don't need to pick him at 60. Ariante Ursery, maybe because they could kick him in the guard. Don't hate that. Linebackers are a good linebacker that's left. I feel like there are.
Yeah, there are.
Chris Paul Jr.
That's poo to you, pal.
Sorry. Poo Paul Jr.
That's a fun player for the middle of their defense.
I was going to say, I could get down with that. Jalen Reeves maybe is not going to be there. Derek Barnes, a free agent. Alex Anzalone's dealt with injury. They've got Jack Campbell. All right, we'll go Poo Paul here. Linebacker from Ole Miss.
Commanders is 61. I had them take Nick Scorton in the first round. Now they get help in the offensive line, the trenches on the other side of the ball. I am going to go with Ariante Ursery.
Okay.
Need a tackle. Need a real.
That, to me, makes sense for them.
Yeah.
Makes a lot of sense. I do like that, especially with the injury oh my gosh.
Their best offensive lineman, of course, from Texas.
Please. Somebody, please.
I got you. I'm working on it. I'm asking the spreadsheet to tell me.
It's just I'm head over. The water is just piling down. I'm drowning.
This is an absolute disaster. Sam Cosme?
Thank you. Buffalo Bills up at number 62. Just moving on. Walter Nolan and Trey Amos. Can we go Princely?
You could do
Just
it.
the Ole Miss
You
connection?
actually could do it, which is really funny.
I actually could do it. Ooh, this might have been a good Poo Paul location.
If you're just keeping the Ole Miss trend, committing so hardcore to this.
Oh, I mean, what if we just double down Alfred Collins?
Why not? Honestly.
I don't hate that. Oh, Jared Ivey, though. I'm not saying that because of the Ole Miss connection.
No, you absolutely are.
I do really like Jared Ivey. Let's look at Buffalo. Let's look at the depth chart, make sure we're not missing anything. They got Cole Bishop to be able to step in. Heather Sewell Douglas, but he's an upcoming free agent. We already gave them Trey Amos. They do need just overall defensive line depth. I would give them Omar Norman Lott, but they sort of already have that in Ed Oliver.
Right. Yeah. No, I think it would be another beefy pick. And it was Walter Nolan who we had them get?
Yes.
Yeah. No, I would think more two-gapping. There's a lot of ways you can go here.
They have Dwayne Carter, who's sort of that one-gapping defensive tackle. They have Javon Solomon to play. Von Miller's not the same player he was before. A.J. Epinesa, it doesn't give them a ton in pass rush. I'm actually going to go Kyle Kennard now that I'm looking at it.
Wow, what a pivot.
Yeah, I'm going out of left field. I just saw Kyle Kennard's name, really productive dude, edge rusher, another defensive line pick. We're going Kennard here to the Bills.
All right, Chiefs at 63. Had them take Josh Connerly in the first round, going Alfred Collins here. They need somebody that could play nose tackle. Collins has done a ton of that at Texas. Stop the run. Protect the passer, stop the run. Protect the passer, stop the run. You win a lot of games.
Yeah, Tyler Booker for the Philadelphia Eagles in the first round. Shamar Turner, maybe?
Yeah.
Jared
shock
Ivey?
me.
Maybe?
They could take a third wide receiver here.
Oh, Josh Farmer is here too. What's their safety spot like?
Did we never take Winston?
No, because Winston's still here.
Man, that would be so Eagles.
C.J. Gardner-Johnson. Oh, they have Sidney Brown too.
Yeah, they've actually loaded. They've actually got depth.
And they
in that
have
group.
Lucine. When did that happen?
Lucine just somehow ends up there.
I should like Elijah Roberts too.
Yeah, their DB room got kind of crowded.
Yeah,
Although after releasing Slay,
dude, Braden Swinson was so good this year.
is it corner time?
I don't think there's a good.
That's the problem. That group just thinned out
here.
Well, I think Jacob Parrish is a stud, but they're not going to take him and play him in the nickel, so it doesn't fit at all.
No, I wouldn't take corner here. I think it's between Princely Monmiel or Braden Swinson.
Man, Princely going there and playing at like 248 and just emptying the bag of pass rush moves.
I mean, he could absolutely be a designated pass rusher for them, but I feel like they already have that.
Yeah, well, that's what they signed Bryce Huff to be, and it just didn't go the way they hoped.
I'm going Braden Swinson.
Okay.
We're doing it. We're going Braden Swinson. There we go.
That's the draft.
2-round mock draft for you, folks.
2.5 hours.
Hopefully you enjoyed it.
Well,
I am not reading off all those
you
names.
cannot pay me to do that, is what he's saying.
I am absolutely not reading off all of those names. This is a lot of fun. The anticipation was there right off the bat. I told Connor he better be on his P's and Q's. He absolutely was.
Thank you. I was really enjoyed after that.
We would love for you guys to tell us what you think of what we think. Give us your takes on our takes. Let us know sort of what you think about some of the players who were there for the combine, whether we think that we're too high on those guys, too low on those guys. We'd love to hear your feedback on certain conversations. Start conversations of our own is the best way to do that. YouTube.com/@NFL Stock Exchange. That's the best way to get it on the show. If you're audio only, you can follow us at Tampa Bay Trey, at Connor J. Rogers. You can also follow the show at NFL SE Show on TikTok, on Instagram, on Twitter, all that good stuff. If you watched and you got to the end and you're not subscribed to the podcast, please subscribe to the podcast. We would absolutely love you for it. Connor teased it. Coming later this week. You think we need one more?
Yeah, we're going to need another.
Yeah. All right. I think we'll get one more. We're doing the third round, baby. We're doing the third round. So we're going to take this, and this is not the end. We're going to give you a full third round. We talked about this a little bit before. We want to set up these total draft haul, draft strategy ideas. So we are giving you a third round. We're going to spend even more time on that third round. We're going to talk about, okay, what team's vision and strategy could be for those third round selections. So it's not just who we're going to take in the mock, but we're going to use this mock as the guide, and we're going to sort of give you that third round mock draft here to give it a 3-round mock feel, but we're also going to have deeper conversations about everything that could be on the board for them in the late parts of day 2. Connor, anything else before we get out of here?
That covers it. Got to get ready for round 3. Already nervous.
I'm excited, baby.
Yeah, it's going to be awesome. It's going to be sick.
Keep going. I love it. Can't wait to hear from all you guys. Thank you so much for watching and listening to the NFL Stock Exchange podcast. I'm Trevor Sikkema. That's Connor Rogers. We'll see you guys on Thursday.